Chapter 184. When Lin Jijie received a call from Chen Fei, Lu Chen had just driven his Zhonghua X7 into the art park. Chen Fei was sitting in the passenger seat. She didn't take the Mercedes-Benz business car worth more than 1 million yuan that lagged behind. It seemed that she had a special fondness for Lu Chen's domestic car, which was only worth more than 200,000 yuan. The area of the New Era Art Park couldn't be said to be very large, but it was already very rare in the Millennium Capital, where every inch of land was worth an inch of gold. If it was built into commercial housing, real estate or office buildings, the value would inevitably be astronomical. Because to the southwest of it was Hadian Park, to the northeast was Capital University, and to the north was the ruins of Yuanminjiwen. The geography, culture, and surrounding environment were irreproducible. The layout of the New Era Art Park was also completely different from the ordinary commercial district. There were no high-rise buildings here. Instead, there were rows of woods, flower beds, and grasslands. Low-rise buildings with unique characteristics were hidden in the thick greenery, giving people the feeling that they had come to a large forest park. It was Lu Chen's first time to come to the New Era Art Park. According to the car navigation, he stopped in front of a gray and white building. The building has only 3 floors, and the yellow and black Flying Stone Records logo hanging on the wall is very eye-catching. The metal material is shining in the sun, telling Lu Chen that he is not in the wrong place. Tian, Flying Stone Records, and Lu Chen also saw Lin Jijie and others standing at the gate. Lu Chen and Chen Fei got out of the car together, and the people of Flying Stone Records greeted them warmly. Miss Chen Fei, Although Chen Fei has been working with Flying Stone Records for many years, and the relationship between the two sides has always been good, and the former has also come to Flying Stone Records many times, the etiquette of Flying Stone Records was still very thoughtful. Lu Chen, after welcoming Chen Fei, Lin Jijie turned his attention to Lu Chen. Welcome, welcome. Lu Chen shook hands with him and said with a smile, "Thank you, Director Lin. Please advise me." Lin Jijie laughed heartily, "I don't dare to advise you. Your achievements in music have already surpassed me. Let me introduce you to a few colleagues in the company." Through his introduction, Lu Chen met Yi Xiangjuan, Deputy General Manager of Flying Stone Records, and Lu Tai, Manager of the Brokerage Department. There was also Fan Jun, the Chief Composer and Arranger. Lu Chen did not know if it was an illusion, but he felt that the Chief Composer was not very friendly to him. When he shook hands with Lu Chen, there was a fake smile on his face, and there seemed to be some hidden meaning behind his polite words. People of the same trade are afraid of each other. Lu Chen didn't care too much. Accompanied by Lin Jijie and others, he followed Chen Fei into Flying Stone Records. This record company, which has enjoyed a reputation in China for 30 years and was once second to none in scale and strength, monopolized this 3-story building, so the space inside was very spacious, and the style of decoration showed a rare atmosphere. Rows of fully transparent floor-to-ceiling glass brought in the outdoor sunlight and scenery. The simple and ingenious layout made working inside a kind of enjoyment. On the walls of the corridor, there were also large portraits, all of which were photos of star artists who used to be or were still under Flying Stone Records. For Lu Chen, they were also famous. The quality of the employees of Flying Stone Records was very high. Perhaps it was because they were used to seeing big stars. No one surrounded Chen Fei, and when they bumped into him, they greeted him politely. Such an atmosphere made Lu Chen secretly sigh at the depth of the foundation of Flying Stone Records. The group of people sat down in the spacious and bright VIP reception room. After the tea and coffee were served, Lin Jijie asked, "Fei, has the title song of your new album really been decided?" To tell the truth, when he heard Chen Fei say on the phone that it had been decided, and that Lu Chen would be the one to write the title song of her new album, the music director of Flying Stone Records still couldn't believe it. As early as more than a month ago, Chen Fei began to ask for songs for her album. Lin Jijie helped recommend several new works by well-known authors in the circle, but she was not very satisfied with them. Chen Feier's requirements for this album were very high. First of all, it was a transformation in style. As we all know, it is not easy for a famous singer to change his style, because her fan group has long been fixed, and everyone is used to and likes the singer's original style. Therefore, once the work after the transformation is not satisfactory, it will inevitably lead to the loss of the original fans, and if new fans can't be attracted, the popularity and brand value will drop big. In the pop music world, there are countless singers who have been eliminated from the market due to the failure of transformation. It was even more difficult for Chen Feier. She has been the queen of sweet songs for more than 10 years. Her singing voice and image have long been deeply rooted in people's hearts. Although she is now facing the problem of shrinking market, she can rely on her past achievements for a lifetime. But Lin Jijie was also very clear that what Chen Feier was pursuing now was not fame and fortune. She had already earned enough money, and her reputation had reached its peak. She had won many awards. What she was pursuing was undoubtedly another breakthrough in her career. It was a great challenge for any creator to achieve her goal through a new album. Could Lu Chen do it? Lin Jijie didn't doubt Lu Chen's strength and talent. Otherwise, he would not have insisted on letting Lu Chen supervise MSN's debut album. But the situation of Chen Feier was completely different. Her fan base was mainly the two generations after the 70s and 80s, while MSN's main audience was the 90s and aughts. This determined the great difference in the genre and style of the song. The creative talent shown by Lu Chen was basically concentrated in folk and light rock. He wouldn't let Chen Feier change to sing folk or rock, right? Thinking about that picture, Lin Jijie would be drunk. Chen Feier chuckled and said, "Big brother Lin, you'll know after you listen to it. I believe that Lu Chen's new work will not let you down. My album will revolve around these two songs." Her voice was soft and melodious, but with unshakable firmness. Yi Xiangjuan, Fan Jun and others looked at each other in dismay. They didn't expect Chen Feier to have such great confidence in Lu Chen. Was Lu Chen's new work really good? Yi Xiangjuan faintly regretted that her previous opposition to Lin Jijie seemed to be a bad decision. Fan Jun secretly clenched his fists, and he was more unconvinced in his heart. This kind of unconvinced was actually the vigilance, fear and even disgust of the rising stars of the younger generation. But in front of Chen Feier, Fan Jun didn't dare to directly expose his inner emotions. He needed to wait for a more suitable opportunity. Lin Jijie said with a smile, "Then I really have to listen to it." After a pause, he said, "Feier, our Flying Stone Records has just set up a girl group called MSN Beautiful Girls Group. I want them to get to know you and ask you to give them more advice." Lin Jijie and Chen Feier have known each other for many years, and have also produced the latter's album. The relationship between the two is very good. So, taking advantage of this opportunity, he wanted to recommend MSN to Chen Feier. If this heavenly queen was willing to help them, then it would be a great help to MSN. MSN Beautiful Girls Group. Chen Feier was stunned at first, and immediately said with a smile, "This name is a bit interesting, then let them come over." MSN. Lu Chen's expression was a little strange. He knew that MSN was the first letter combination of the word beautiful girl, but the name reminded him of a chat software in the dream world. After half a minute, the three members of the MSN Beautiful Girls group appeared in the VIP reception room. The three people wore the same style of white dresses, but the color of the skirt was divided into three colors: red, yellow, and purple. They were basically about the same height, and they were equally beautiful and lovely, exuding a youthful atmosphere. Their faces were full of excitement. After coming in, they all saluted Chen Feier. "Hello, Sister Fei." Chen Feier nodded and smiled. "Hello. Xiao Chu." What surprised her was that one of the members of MSN was Mu Xiaochu. Mu Xiaochu smiled shyly. "Hello, Sister Fei, hello, Senior." The latter three words were said to Lu Qin. Lu Qin was equally surprised. Hello, Xiaochu." He didn't expect that Mu Xiaochu would become a member of a girl group after signing with Flying Stone Records. Lin Jijie said with a smile, "Let me introduce you, Mu Xiaochu, 19 years old, from Beijing Institute of Foreign Languages, is one of the top 5 singers of Singing China." Lu Qin and Chen Fei were already very familiar with her, and there was no need for a special introduction. Mu Xiaochu was a member of MSN's member Su Jiejie, also 19 years old, was originally a trainee of Flying Stone Records. She looked sweeter, with an oval face, willow leaf eyebrows, red lips and white teeth, and a cheerful personality, showing her canine teeth when she smiled. The last one was called Ning Tian, 20 years old, from the Northern Conservatory of Music, and could be regarded as a real professional background. Ning Tian was the oldest of the three, and her figure was the best and the most beautiful. Her eyes were very moving, and when she smiled, it seemed to speak, which made people involuntarily attracted. MSN Beautiful Girl Group was really worthy of its name. Chen Fei shook hands with them one by one and exclaimed, "They're really beautiful. Big Brother Lin, your eyes are so good. I believe that their group will be successful." Lin Jijie said, "That depends on everyone's support." With that, he looked at Lu Qin meaningfully. "Lu Qin, I'm going to ask you for a song. You and Xiaochu are brothers and sisters. You must help me with this." Lu Qin said with a smile, "Big Brother Lin, you said it, so I must come up with good works. Isn't it the same to sell songs to anyone? Not to mention that he still needs help from Flying Stone Records. The CD record, poster peripheral production and distribution of You Who Sat Next to Me were all completed through Flying Stone Records." Lin Jijie laughed and didn't continue on this topic. Otherwise, Xiangjuan, Fan Jun, and the rest would lose face. He said, "Then let's listen to your new work first." He didn't know why, but the music director of Flying Stone Records was full of confidence in Lu Qin's new work. He couldn't wait to hear it. Chapter 185. The recording studio of Flying Stone Records, whether in terms of scale, area, or equipment conditions, is the top in China. As an established record company, Flying Stone Records is still very willing to invest in hardware. There was once a big shot who, after recording an album in its recording studio, once sighed that recording songs in such an environment can elevate his state to the highest, and even beyond the limit. Although the praise of this big shot was somewhat exaggerated, the recording studio of Flying Stone Records is really famous in the industry, so Chen Fei will always put her album here to be produced. Lu Qin, who came here for the first time, was also shocked. Even if he was not a professional in recording, he could fully see the extraordinariness of the recording studio of Flying Stone Records. The investment was probably tens of millions of yuan. In contrast, the recording studio of Rock Studio was really pitifully weak. But Lu Qin still admired Wang Jing and her brother of Rock Studio. Under such limited conditions, they still helped him complete an album of excellent quality, which was enough to be proud of. Chen Fei entered the studio. Lu Qin, Lin Jijie, Yi Xiangjuan, Fan Jun, MSN and other people of Flying Stone Records stayed in the outside monitoring room. Then there were 6 or 7 more people, all of whom rushed over after getting the news. Among them, Lu Qin even saw a familiar face, a star who was often active on the screen. They obviously all wanted to hear Chen Fei's new work. Chen Fei skillfully put on the monitoring headphones and stood in front of the microphone. She first closed her eyes, then took a long, deep breath and began to prepare her emotions. Those excellent and experienced singers can adjust their emotions to the best and most suitable state for the melody of the song in just a few seconds. Only when the emotions are in place can the emotions in the song be fully expressed and not give people a feeling of false emptiness. Chen Feier has been in the recording studio for more than 10 years, and it was unknown how many times she has been in and out of the recording studio. It should be very simple and easy for her to prepare and adjust her emotions. But after more than half a minute, she still did not open her eyes. This was very unusual. After all, this was just an audition, not a real recording, so the requirements weren't that high. The only explanation was that Chen Feier had high expectations for himself, and even higher expectations for the song. Even if it was just an audition. The monitoring room was quiet. No one was talking. Even their breathing was controlled to be light. Although with the hardware conditions of Flying Stone Records recording studio, shouting and beating gongs and drums in the monitoring room could not be heard by the people in the recording studio, everyone was subconsciously afraid of affecting Chen Feier. The three girls of MSN stood in the corner of the monitoring room. Through the big glass window, they looked at the Queen of Sweet Song without blinking, looking a little excited. After a while, Chen Feier opened his eyes. Her lips curled into a faint smile, and she made an "okay" gesture to the recorder. The latter nodded knowingly and pressed the play button of the accompaniment on the console. The accompaniment tape used in Chen Feier's audition was completed by Lu Chen with Wang Jing at Rock Studio. At best, it was a semi-finished product, and it definitely needed to be rearranged and recorded. Of course, it was still no problem to use it in the audition. This song will be used in the new album by Chen Feier, and as the prelude to the title song, was clearly transmitted to the ears of everyone present through high-quality monitoring speakers. Lin Jijie furrowed his brows. Because just listening to the prelude, the style of Lu Chen's new work was not the same as he expected, and it was a bit rough. The corner of Fan Jun's eyes twitched, and an imperceptible sneer flashed across his face. But Chen Feier's subsequent singing instantly made their expressions freeze in an instant. I have a flower, planted in my heart, blooming in my heart, morning and evening I eagerly await those who have the heart come to dream. Woman flower swaying in the world of mortals, woman flower swaying gently in the wind, only hoping that there is a pair of gentle hands, can comfort the loneliness in my heart. In the monitoring room, except for Lu Chen, all the musicians were shocked. Because they couldn't believe that the one singing in the recording room was Chen Feier. It wasn't that Chen Feier's singing was not up to standard. In fact, she sang very well, affectionately, and in a deep mood. It was that this song was simply subverting Chen Feier. As the famous queen of sweet songs in China, Chen Feier's works have always been famous for being sweet and moving. The songs she sang were always full of tenderness and honey, sweet and refreshing, bringing people a happy and beautiful feeling. Listening to her songs was like drinking honey water. In and out of the circle, whenever sweet songs were mentioned, people first thought of Chen Feier. However, what Chen Feier was singing now was a downright love song, a nostalgic and sad love song. Her singing was no longer sweet and soft, but low with the taste of the vicissitudes of time, and even a touch of desolation. This was a completely subversive change, a major transformation. I have a flower, the fragrance of the flowers fills the branches, who will sincerely seek traces of the fragrance. Not long after the flowers bloom, what can be broken must be broken. Women are like flowers are like dreams. I have a flower growing in my heart, true love is incomprehensible. Weeds are everywhere, have occupied the hillside, narcissism is the most painful. Women are like flowers, unable to stand the test of time. Women are like flowers, exuding fragrance but speechless. Women are like flowers, competing for beauty only to be appreciated. A simple song sang all the loneliness and sadness of women. Although the lyrics were short, it was just right to use flowers as a metaphor for women. Women were like flowers were like dreams, everything was so empty that people couldn't grasp it, and the beauty of poetry was vividly reflected in the depths of love. This was a sad and euphemistic song, a sad and sighing song. It expressed feelings, expressed love, and controlled loneliness. Lin Jijia looked at Lu Qin in disbelief. How could he write such a song? In the recording studio, Chen Fei was singing to the point of forgetting her feelings, and inadvertently tears had already wet the corners of her eyes. She debuted in her teens, and all the way to the present, she didn't know how many ups and downs and hardships she had experienced. She was glorious in front of others, but she was crying behind her back. Those jealous slander, those rules, and those with ulterior motives, she was able to stick to her bottom line and didn't fall into the darkness, not only because of the help of her friends, but also because of her own strength. All along, she had carefully guarded her feelings and never opened her heart to anyone easily, because in the entertainment industry, there were too few people who were truly trustworthy and reliable. Those gentle pursuers might have hidden motives and selfishness. In the past, Chen Fei had been involved in a lot of scandals. In addition to the deliberate hype arranged by the company, the others were maliciously hung up on by others, which made her more cautious and vigilant about relationships. Until now, she was still alone. But she was also a woman who had fully matured. Many lonely nights, she longed for a sincere relationship, longed to be picked by someone. When taking a bath, she stood in front of the mirror and stared at her proudish self, but her mood couldn't be described. Just like the song Woman Flower sang, self-admiration is the most painful. When Chen Fei opened the music score and sample sent by Lu Qin, and heard this song for the first time, she really cried. After love, you know the importance of love. After being drunk, you know the strength of wine. Flowers bloom and fade, but in the end, it's empty. Fate doesn't stay, like the spring breeze comes and goes. Women are like flowers in a dream. She was a woman flower in the wind. She hoped for a pair of gentle hands to soothe the loneliness in her heart. She wished she had a strong arm to lean on. She hoped to have a home to settle her heart. She hoped that someone could read her true feelings and appreciate her beauty. She longed for love, which could nourish her heart. She wanted to grow old with a loved one, and she wanted to have everything a woman should have. This song was really written in Chen Fei's heart, so she made a decision without hesitation. Woman Flower. This was the title song of her new album, and it was also the name of the album. Chen Fei closed her eyes and let the crystal tears fall from the corners of her eyes. She sang with so much heart. She opened her eyes again and saw Lu Qin through the glass window. Lu Qin was also looking at her, with tenderness and understanding in his dark eyes, which went straight to her heart. It touched her heartstrings. Inadvertently, the scene of going shopping and singing karaoke with Lu Qin that day reappeared in her mind. She remembered the feeling of Lu Qin's fingers gently pinching her cheek. Chen Fei looked away a little unnaturally and finished singing the last verse. Fate doesn't stay, like the spring breeze comes and goes. Women are like flowers in a dream. Women are like flowers in a dream. She suddenly had a sense of loss, and her heart was empty as if she had lost something precious. There was a moment of silence in the monitoring room, and then applause suddenly broke out. The most excited one was Lin Jijia. His palms clapped very hard, and he didn't care if they were red. Because he heard a classic love song and the most affectionate and touching voice from Chen Fei. This song made him no longer have any doubts about Chen Fei's transformation work. He firmly believed that this album would definitely be a success. The music director of Flying Stone Records had a sense of honor to witness history. In the applause, Fan Jun was silent. He listened to Chen Fei's new song with a nitpicking mentality, but this song made him unable to nitpick. Even he had no idea about Lu Qin. Because in this world, there were always geniuses that people could never surpass. Lu Qin was such a genius. Losing to a real genius, Fan Jun didn't feel ashamed. He was just ashamed of his previous unbalanced mentality. Lin Jijia's decision was correct. Lu Qin was fully qualified to supervise the production of MSN's debut album. That was the honor of Flying Stone Records. Note: Woman Flower, lyricist, Li Anxiu/composer, Chen Yaochuan. Chapter 186. In Lu Chen's dream world, the song Woman Flower is one of the classical music masterpieces of this heavenly queen singer. This song describes that in the dreamy season, the protagonist, who longs to be loved, is silently waiting for her dream lover, leading her and inspiring her to walk out of ignorance and towards maturity. But these things can't be said to others, and it's not good to take the initiative to show a strong desire to talk. The whole song has a total of 4 sections. Many of the same lyrics need to be sung repeatedly, but the emotions expressed each time are not exactly the same. Therefore, only a very good female singer can really grasp the essence of the work. Lu Chen wrote Woman Flower to Chen Feier after careful consideration. First of all, this work can't be sung by just anyone. Singing the feelings in the song requires the precipitation of time and life experience. Those young singers in their teens and 20s can't sing the real taste at all. For example, the sample of Woman Flower was sung by Wang Jing of Nirvana Studios. She should be able to sing it well. The melody and syllables are in place and accurate, but she can't sing the mature and vicissitudes of life. Chen Feier is completely different. She is a big singer who has been on the road for more than 10 years. She has experienced the baptism of wind and rain, and is fully capable of controlling this work. Secondly, Chen Feier intends to achieve a transformation through the new album. If this song, Woman Flower, is successful, then her transformation will undoubtedly be natural. She can get rid of the image of a fairy girl who has not changed for 10 years, and let everyone see the other charming side of the heavenly queen. That day when he went shopping with Chen Feier and sang karaoke, he discovered another side of her. This is a great challenge, and Lu Chen likes challenges. Imagine, a singer at the heavenly queen level completes a gorgeous transformation under his guidance. What a great sense of accomplishment it was. Chen Feier didn't let Lu Chen down. Even beyond his imagination. Chen Feier's interpretation of this work could be said to be perfect. Her traditional, nostalgic, and gentle voice inadvertently touched the listener's heartstrings. She could hear her loneliness and heartbreak, as well as her longing and true feelings. What was truly frightening was that the accompaniment she was using now was still a rough, half-finished product, and her voice had not undergone any post-processing, but the effect was already astonishingly strong. Chen Feier had not only relied on luck to become the Empress of Heaven. After singing Woman Flower, Chen Feier took off the monitoring headphones and walked out of the recording studio. She did not sing the second song that Lu Chen had written for her. The corners of the heavenly queen's eyes were still stained with sparkling tears, but she did not feel shy. Her beautiful and exquisite face was filled with the joy of returning from sadness and happiness. She looked incomparably moving. You sang so well. Lin Jijie praised from the bottom of his heart, the song is good. I was doubting it just now, but now I'm convinced. He gave a thumbs up to Chen Feier and Lu Chen at the same time. Chen Feier wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and said with a smile, the main thing is that the song written by Lu Chen is good. My album will use this song as the title and title song of the album. Brother Lin, what do you think? No problem at all. Lin Jijie nodded heavily and said without hesitation, the name of this song should be called Woman Flower, right? The main style of nostalgic love songs is very suitable for your transformation. For an album, the title song should be determined first, and then the whole album should be composed around the title song, so as to ensure the unity of style. He asked, didn't Lu Chen write another one? Why didn't you sing it? The song, Woman Flower, made his ears feel as if they had been washed once, but it was still not enough. Chen Feier said with a smile, I can't sing it anymore. Let's sing the second song next time. It wasn't that she really couldn't sing it, but there were too many emotions integrated into this song. If she continued to sing it, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to control her mood and affect her image. After all, this was Flying Stone Records, and there were so many people in the monitoring room. Lin Jijia understood after a little thought. He said with a smile, "That's just right. I'll let MSN Group sing a song too. Please give me some advice with Lin Jijia." The music director of Flying Stone Records has a special feeling for MSN, which he established with his own hands. So even if he behaved a little too eagerly, he didn't care about the strange eyes of others. Such an opportunity was very rare. If he could get the approval or even appreciation of Chen Feier, then it would be of great benefit to the future development of MSN. As for Lu Qin, not to mention. He was counting on Lu Qin to help supervise the production of MSN's debut album. Chen Feier said with a smile, "Okay, she and Lin Jijia have known each other for many years and can be regarded as friends. She must help with this little favor." It was really nothing for her to help a few newcomers. Lu Qin also nodded. He also knew Lin Jijia's thoughts. Asking Chen Feier for advice was one thing. The most important thing was probably to let him listen to the original sound of MSN first, so that he could tailor-make songs for MSN. Lin Jijia hurriedly summoned the three girls of MSN, Mu Xiaochu, Su Jijia and Ning Tian came over, bowed and said, "Thank you, Sister Fei." "Thank you, Teacher Lu." They all knew that Lu Qin was likely to write songs for his album. And Lu Qin was qualified and capable of writing the title song of Chen Feier's album. They were all intoxicated by the song, Woman Flower, just now and fully felt the strength of the two in front of them. Thinking that they had the opportunity to sing Lu Qin's works, the MSN girls were a little excited. At present, in the pop music world, there were many boy and girl groups competing for the young people's market. There were too many idol groups, and the competition was too fierce. The problem of homogeneity was very prominent. Many boy and girl groups imitated the style of Europe, the United States, Japan and South Korea, especially the South Korean groups. And it was really too difficult for MSN to copy this successful route. They had to find another way to stand out. Then what did they use to speak? It must be a really good song that could be sung by countless people. Lin Jijia put his bet on Lu Qin. Now was their chance to perform. Three beautiful girls entered the recording studio. While they were preparing, a man in the monitoring room greeted Chen Feier, "Sister Fei." Chen Feier said with a smile, "Hello, Hu Su." The elegant man was nearly 1.8 meters tall, with a handsome appearance and the charm of a mature man. He was about 30 years old, with a slightly deep voice and a very special flavor when he spoke. His name was Hu Su. He was a very famous actor. He had played roles in many films and TV series. He had a very good evaluation in the circle and belonged to a very potential artist. When Hu Su came in just now, Lu Qin recognized him. And Chen Feier once worked with Hu Su in a movie, so the two sides knew each other. The entertainment industry could be said to be very big, but it could also be said to be very small. There was often an intersection between star artists. Even if they didn't know each other, it was easy to have the opportunity to get to know each other. As the saying goes, if you act well, you sing well. Hu Su intended to develop in pop music. He sang 2 episodes of TV series and wanted to release a solo album, so he appeared in Flying Stone Records today. There were also those who sang well and acted well, such as Chen Feier. With her fame in the music industry, even if she didn't take the initiative, many movie companies would come to her door to invite her. It's just that Chen Feier didn't have much idea about making movies and TV series. She only played a few small roles. Hu Su praised, "My luck is really good today. I got to hear a really good song." His eyes looked at Lu Qin and he took the initiative to reach out his hand. "This is Lu Qin, right?" Lu Qin nodded, shook hands with him and said, "Hello, big brother Hu Su." I've seen your movie. Su smiled heartily and said, I've also seen your competition in singing China. I admire your strength. Lu Chen modestly said, Big brother Su praises me too much. Su shook his head and said, not to mention your talent in music, just based on your appearance, you can fully develop in the film and television industry. You are much more handsome than me. When I see you, I'm worried that I'll be robbed of my job. The people around him were amused by his words. Lu Chen couldn't help laughing, this person was really interesting. Speaking of which, in the past, not to mention Chen Fei, even if he looked at Su, he was also looking at someone from another world. But now, he could talk to the other party on an equal footing, and even joke with each other. However, Lu Chen keenly noticed that Chen Fei gave him a meaningful look. His heart moved, and he said with a smile, Big brother Su is too modest. He didn't continue to talk about the topic raised by the other party. At this time, the MSN girl group began their singing in the studio. The song sung by the three girls was the famous song Rainbow After the Rain by the former girl group Seven Color Rainbow. This song, with a bright rhythm, beautiful melody and sunny lyrics, was very suitable for female chorus, and at the same time, fully expressed their vocal characteristics. Mu Xiaochu's voice was as sweet and clean as ever, with a bit of a natural sound. Su Jijia's voice was a bit more neutral, with a hint of hoarseness, and was very pleasant to listen to. As for Ning Tian, her voice was not as recognizable as Mu Xiaochu and Su Jijia, but in terms of singing skills, she was definitely better than the latter two. She controlled her breath freely and grasped the melody and rhythm of the song very well. In the chorus part, the three-person group brought to the audience a very layered feeling of girls. Although their cooperation with each other was not very tacit, there was almost no disharmony or conflict. As a minority girl group, MSN was completely qualified in terms of appearance, image, singing and voice. After they finished singing, Chen Fei clapped his hands and said with a smile, It's really good. It's very nice. The three girls expressed their gratitude shyly. Lin Jijia almost couldn't wait to ask Lu Chen, Teacher Lu, can you give me some advice? Lu Chen said with a smile, I have no opinion now. Let me think about it again after I go back. At this moment, Lu Chen still didn't know that Lin Jijia didn't just want him to write a song for MSN. Chapter 187. When leaving Flying Stone Records, Chen Fei was still in Lu Chen's car. On this trip to Flying Stone Records, Lu Chen's harvest was not small. First of all, Lu Chen has already negotiated with Flying Stone Records, and the other party will spare enough time to make the CD record of his debut album, You Who Sat Next to Me, as well as posters, USB drives and other peripheral products. And in terms of price, Flying Stone Records also gave Lu Chen a special discount of 5%. Don't underestimate the discount of only 5%. It should be known that the profit from the customization and distribution of Flying Stone Records was actually not high. Especially in the distribution area, they cooperated with Xinhua Publishing House. The money from the channel was basically earned by Xinhua Publishing House. In addition, Lin Jijia invited Lu Chen to write 2 songs as the title song of MSN's album, and asked him to co-produce. The meaning of producing an album was different from that of inviting songs. The latter only needed to write the work, hand over the money and the goods, and that was it. At most, he would point out the problem of melody and singing, and he didn't need to care about anything else. The producer in the music industry was mainly responsible for the music production of the record. The music producer must have excellent musical accomplishment and practical operation ability, and rely on professional skills and experience to create the best sound effect for the record. This role was similar to that of the director of a movie. The producer's task was to point out the mistakes of musicians and singers in the early recording of the record and time in the recording room, and to guide the recording engineer in the later mixing of the record. Therefore, the producer shouldered a very important responsibility. The producer was responsible for the whole album, and had a high say and decision-making power in the recording process of the singer's album. Even if it was a helping nature, it was very rare for a big company like Flying Stone Records. Because Lu Qin was not a member of Flying Stone Records, and Flying Stone Records itself had many talents in this area, such as Lin Jijia himself. He had produced at least hundreds of records and had rich experience. This undoubtedly reflected the importance that Flying Stone Records, or more accurately, Lin Jijia, attached to Lu Qin. Even Lu Qin didn't expect that the music director of Flying Stone Records would invite him to co-produce MSN's debut album. It should be known that he didn't have much qualifications and experience in this regard. In terms of experience, it was Lu Qin's You Who Sat Next to Me album that he had just completed not long ago. Of course, he did not work for nothing as a producer. Flying Stone's starting price for 2 songs plus assisting in the production was 1 million yuan. This kind of price was enough to invite the top authors in the industry. Of course, Lu Qin agreed. In addition to the generous rewards, accumulating relevant experience in this area was also very important to him. In fact, Lu Qin didn't know that if he hadn't written the song Woman Flower for Chen Feier to shock Lin Jijia's opponents, he might not have been able to get the contract. The stubbornness and pride of a large company were not easily shaken by any newcomer. Sister Fei, while driving, Lu Qin asked, "What's the problem with Hu Su just now?" Previously in the monitoring room, when Lu Qin was talking to Hu Su, Chen Feier gave him a wink. Lu Qin understood the wink, but he didn't understand the reason why Chen Feier hinted to him. Hu Su's evaluation seemed to have always been very good. He looked very good, and his speech and manner were very cultured. Chen Feier said with a smile, "Hu Su, this person. How do I say it? It's hard to see the real thoughts in his heart, and he does things with a very strong purpose, but he hides it very well. Most people can't see it. Just now, I was worried that you would be dizzy from his praise and promise something casually. Utilitarian, hypocritical." This was Chen Feier's evaluation of Hu Su. Lu Qin understood and said, "Thank you, Sister Fei, for reminding me. I will pay attention." Compared with Hu Su, Lu Qin certainly believed in Chen Feier. If Chen Feier hadn't cared about him, he wouldn't have needed to tell him this and remind him. It was impossible for Chen Feier to deliberately slander Hu Su behind his back. What he said must be the truth. For people like Hu Su, it was undoubtedly the right choice to keep a distance and stay away from him. Chen Feier sighed softly and said, "The entertainment circle is too complicated, and people's hearts are unpredictable. Some people smile in front of you, but they will only stab you in the back. If you don't pay attention, you may be used by others." She has been in the circle for more than 10 years. She has encountered both good and bad things. She naturally has a deep understanding of human nature. "Let's not talk about this." She shook her head and said with a smile, "You see, I speak ill of others behind their backs for you. How are you going to thank me?" The Queen of Sweet Song smiled a little slyly. Lu Qin smiled bitterly, "Sister Fei, if you want to thank me, then I'll do whatever you say." Chen Feier asked with a smile, "Are you free tonight?" "Tonight?" Lu Qin was depressed. "I really don't have time tonight. I'm going to a bachelor party." "Bachelor party?" Chen Feier was surprised. "Your friend is getting married tomorrow." The so-called bachelor party was a pre-marriage custom spread from abroad. Friends held a party for the bridegroom who was about to say goodbye to being single. There were usually all kinds of happy programs. Of course, in the domestic environment, there were definitely no strippers at the bachelor party. Lu Qin explained, "The groom is the owner of the bar where I used to work. His name is Qin Jinhao. Now we are friends. The bride is Zhang Nana of the Bionics. I call her Sister Na. Qin Jinhao. Zhang Nana." Chen Feier thought for a moment and said, "I'm a little familiar with the name Qin Jinhao. He used to be in the circle. I met Zhang Nana once some time ago. The song she sang was also written by you, right? Lu Qin nodded. Chen Feier immediately became interested. Can you tell me your story? Lu Qin scratched his head a little. In fact, there's nothing to say. Sister Fei, if you want to know, let's find a place to sit down and eat and talk. I'll treat you at noon. Chen Feier smiled with curved eyebrows. Okay, she thought for a moment and said, I won't eat your meal for nothing. I'll also put the CD records and peripherals of my new album on your crowdfunding website. I think it's very interesting. Sister Fei, are you serious? Lu Qin was shocked and couldn't believe his ears. This was a big pie falling from the sky. His album has been successfully operated on the crowdfunding website, but if the crowdfunding website wants to really open up the situation and attract more people's attention, it obviously needs vigorous publicity and investment. If Chen Feier's transformational work can also be put on the crowdfunding website for crowdfunding, the number of fans attracted will definitely be much more than that of Lu Qin. At that time, she will shout on her blog, which will be more effective than any advertisement. In addition, not to mention the income from the crowdfunding website. In fact, Lu Qin is willing to help Chen Feier operate this album even if he doesn't want a penny. Once his fame and brand are out, there will inevitably be venture capital. At that time, he will sell part of his shares, which will be enough to pay off the rest of his family's debts. It's really a great thing. This meal must be worth at least $1 million, right? Chen Feier glanced at the stunned Lu Qin and said, Of course it's true. Would I lie to you? Lu Qin smiled, Thank you, Sister Fei. He hurriedly turned on the car navigation, searched for a highly rated Western restaurant on it, and took Chen Feier to eat. This meal must be treated well. It's not easy for a big star to eat. When they got there, Chen Feier had to go to the nanny car that followed behind and rummage for a hat and sunglasses to cover her beautiful face, so as not to be recognized and watched. The place Lu Qin chose was good. The environment was elegant, and the service and dishes were very high grade. The two of them had a good time eating the meal. Lu Qin told her about working and singing at Forget Grass Bar. Chen Feier regretted that if it wasn't a bachelor party, she could go with Lu Qin in the evening. After lunch, Lu Qin sent Chen Feier back to her studio, and then drove to Forget Grass Bar. For such a big thing as marriage, Lu Qin originally wanted to help, but was refused by Qin Jinhao. According to him, Lu Qin's time was precious now, and there was no need to waste it on these boring things. Although Lu Qin didn't feel bored. On the door of Forget Grass Bar, there was a sign that said, Owner has a wedding, closed for business. When Lu Qin entered, the waiter inside was preparing the scene of the party. The bartender, David, was very surprised to see Lu Qin. Oh, look who's here, our big star. Lu Qin smiled and gave the other party a punch, and then flew backstage. Everything inside was so familiar, and the scenes of the past emerged in his heart, making him feel very emotional. In the afternoon, Lu Qin helped with the decorations in the bar. These things originally didn't need Lu Qin to do, he just used this way to say goodbye to Forget Grass Bar. There were a lot of memories here. When night fell, Qin Jinhao's friends arrived one after another. The bionics came, and the temperament of the leader Qin Hanyang changed a lot from before. He had a bit of a star's style. The boss of Blue Lotus, Chang Wei, also came, and he brought the North Needle Band. It was worth mentioning that although the North Needle Band took two of Lu Qin's works, their new album hadn't been released yet. Although they were also signed to Light Rain Media, the limelight was all taken by the bionics. However, the lead singer of the North Needle Band, Gon Lang, was still in high spirits. When he saw Lu Qin, he specially took the initiative to greet him, very enthusiastically thanked him for the songs he wrote, and said that the North Needle Band's new album would be released soon. As time went on, more and more people appeared in the bar. Most of the people Lu Qin didn't know, and he estimated that they weren't friends from the same circle. Many of them were singers and musicians, but a lot of people recognized Lu Qin and came over to get close to him. Now in the circle of Hohai, Lu Qin was already a legend. Many bar singers saw him as an idol. At 8:00 in the evening, the main character finally appeared, the big boss Qin Jinhao, who was about to say goodbye to being single. Chapter 188. Cheers! Countless glasses were raised high, and the golden liquid in the glasses was bubbling with white foam. Under the bright light, the golden liquid glittered, and the air was filled with the unique aroma of beer. The guests who came to forget Grass Bar greeted Qin Jinhao with the beer in their glasses. They congratulated him on saying goodbye to being single and entering the palace of marriage. A famous person once said that only a man who has been married and has a family will truly understand what responsibility is and can truly mature. Some people also said that marriage is a man's prison and grave. From then on, the eagle flying against the wind will have its wings tied. Only they know the bitterness of it. But no matter what, the friends gathered here to send their most sincere blessings to the groom-to-be. Enjoy your last moments of being single. Amidst the laughter and applause, Qin Jinhao drank a full glass of beer. People are in high spirits when encountering happy events. The boss of Forget Grass Bar was obviously several years younger. He was full of heroic spirit when drinking. Anyone who came over to toast and congratulate him did not refuse. For the bachelor party in the evening, Forget Grass Bar removed most of the tables and replaced them with long dining tables filled with all kinds of drinks and snacks, as well as decorative flowers. The light melody of the music echoed in the bar. The waitresses in the Snow Bunny Girls' uniform carried plates and shuttled through the crowd with light footsteps, adding countless joyful atmosphere to the scene. Compared with the bunny girls in the bachelor party abroad, their dressing was much more conservative, but it was cute and pretty enough. There were no strippers, which was a small benefit for the groom-to-be and his friends. Dang! 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 Someone knocked on the plate. When everyone's attention turned to him, he quickly jumped to the stage, turned on the microphone and said, "Dear friends and distinguished guests, I suggest that our groom-to-be, Brother Jinhao, perform for us first. He can sing, dance, or tell a joke. What do you think?" Good. Many guys who were eager to see the world in chaos immediately shouted and even whistled. Qin Jinhao was pushed onto the stage by people. He said with a wry smile, "Asking an old man like me to sing and dance, isn't that asking for my life? You guys are too ruthless." Blue Lotus's boss, Chang Wei, directly exposed him. "Brother Qin, you don't need to be modest. Back in the day, you were the famous little prince of rock and roll. Even if you only have half of your skills left, you can still hold the fort." The little prince of rock and roll. Lu Qin almost spat out the beer in his mouth. Imagining the younger version of Qin Jinhao, with long hair, holding a guitar and singing rock and roll, the scene couldn't be more beautiful. Everyone roared with laughter and cheered, "Sing a song." You, Qin Jinhao angrily pointed at Boss Chang and said, "Just you wait." The harsh words had been spoken, but the song still had to be sung. Qin Jinhao did not hesitate. Perhaps he was a little tipsy. He called for the Bionics. They collaborated on the classic rock song of the Black Ravens, "Tomorrow Reborn." The Black Ravens was a national rock band active in the late 1980s and early 1990s. They had a total of 3 albums, with a total sales of more than 20 million, and were regarded as the mainstay of national rock. Unfortunately, in September 1993, the lead singer and soul of the Black Ravens, Gao Yi, accidentally fell off the stage during a concert rehearsal, resulting in a serious skull injury. She eventually died in Chaoyang People's Hospital at the age of 32. Gao Yi's unexpected death was undoubtedly a heavy blow to national rock. The Black Ravens, who had always been the leading role, was unable to recover. 2 years later, they disbanded, leaving national rock fans with endless sorrow. The fall of the Black Ravens was also a microcosm of the decline of national rock. Due to the rise of commercial pop music, pure rock and roll suffered a serious impact. The market continued to shrink, and its influence became smaller and smaller. Some rock and roll singers followed the trend and took the initiative to change their overly personal and idealistic style, singing light rock and roll or folk songs. However, there were also many rock and roll people who stubbornly guarded the last position of national rock and did not bow to the market. However, most of these protectors were unknown. Now, national rock has become a distant noun, and only a very small number of people are still struggling. The song, Tomorrow Reborn, sung by Chin Jinhao is not only the famous work of the Black Ravens, but also the pinnacle of national rock. As long as a singer has sung rock and roll, they have covered it. Lu Chen saw another side of Chin Jinhao from this. In Lu Chen's impression, the owner of Forget Grass Bar was cold and deep, with a little shrewdness and profiteering of a businessman. He never easily showed his inner feelings, and usually did not show his emotions. However, Chin Jinhao, who was standing on the stage today, a middle-aged man who had reached the age of 40, was passionate and hot-blooded. He roared at the top of his lungs with the accompaniment of the bionics. His face was flushed, the blue veins on his neck and forehead bulged, and his eyes were full of blood, as if they were burning flames, containing endless power. In terms of singing skills alone, Chin Jinhao was not very good, and even at the climax of the song, his voice was a little broken, but the emotion he put into singing moved everyone present. Everyone applauded or roared with him, and the huge sound wave seemed to be able to overturn the roof. Lu Chen, who was among them, could not help but feel his blood boil. He raised his arms, clenched his fists, and roared at the top of his lungs. Tomorrow I will be reborn, and once again face a regretless youth. Please never forget my real name. At the end of the song, the audience was boiling. Thank you. After singing, Tomorrow Reborn, Chin Jinhao seemed to have exhausted all his strength. He was sweating and asked with a smile, "Is everyone happy? Do you like it? Is it strong enough?" "Happy. I like it. It's strong enough." His friends responded loudly. This kind of Chin Jinhao was not something many people had seen before, and it was very refreshing. The person who invited Chin Jinhao to sing on stage shouted, "Brother Kenho, take it easy. Remember that you still have to consummate your marriage tomorrow. If you don't have any strength, then sister-in-law will scold us to death." Everyone laughed heartily, and the air was filled with particles of joy. "I'll remember you." Chin Jinhao fiercely glared at the culprit, and handed the microphone to Qin Hanyang. "Great Qin, it's up to you." The bachelor party held in Forget Worries Bar did not lack singers. Just the bands alone, there were as many as 4 or 5, not to mention the veterans in Ho-Hai. Tonight was a special day, and many people were willing to make less money to come and support. Qin Hanyang did not say anything and led the brothers of the Bionics to sing, In the Spring. If Lu Chen had become a legend in the circle of Ho-Hai, then, In the Spring, by the Bionics was simply a fairy tale, admired and worshipped by countless bar singers. This song has been popular on major music websites for a long time, and so far it still occupies a place on the original music chart, not to mention that it once dominated the chart for many weeks and became a phenomenal classic. Although it was not pure rock, In the Spring awakened people's memory of the once glorious national rock. The Bionics had become the hottest new wave in the pop music world, and it was said that the invitations to perform were all arranged until next year. Now Forget Grass Bar, in the place where the Bionics once rose and struggled, hearing this original, In the Spring, many people felt a sense of honor. Moreover, the original creator of In the Spring was also there. Everyone did not forget Lu Chen. When the Bionics finished singing, In the Spring, someone immediately shouted his name. It was a regular customer of Forget Grass Bar. If you really count it, Lu Chen did not leave Forget Grass Bar for a long time. But for those regular customers, Lu Chen had been gone for a long time. They missed this tall and handsome young man, missed him sitting on the stage, holding a guitar and singing, "You Who Sat Next to Me." That kind of feeling could not be experienced through the screen. Everyone knew that Lu Chen's footsteps would not stop at Forget Worries Bar. They were very happy that Lu Chen could move to a bigger and more brilliant stage, and they also wished Lu Chen's future and prospects. At the same time, they still hoped to hear Lu Chen's live performance again. Today was the best opportunity. Qin Hanyang said to the microphone, "Then, let's invite the young boss of Forget Grass Bar to sing a new song for us. How about it? A new song that we have never heard before." Okay. Everyone applauded and enthusiastically responded to Qin Hanyang. For other singers, such a request might be suspected of deliberately making things difficult for them. But Lu Chen, his amazing talent in composition was regarded as an incredible miracle in the circle. In just a few months, Lu Chen had written more than 20 original songs. Although some writers who were in the prime of their creative period could also come up with so many works in such a short period of time, no one could be like Lu Chen, whose first song was a masterpiece or even a classic. What made people most speechless was that he had a wild imagination in composition. His style covered folk songs, light rock songs, love songs, and even theme songs. His musical ideas seemed endless. In the circle, Lu Chen even had the nickname Melody Nouveau Riche. Therefore, the request that was difficult for others was obviously legitimate, reasonable, and necessary for Lu Chen. The new song must be an original new work. Lu Chen. Lu Chen. Lu Chen. No one knew who started it, but everyone shouted Lu Chen's name neatly and loudly. It was obviously Qin Jinhao's bachelor party, but it seemed to have become Lu Chen's home court. But Qin Jinhao did not care. Instead, he shouted with everyone, pushing the atmosphere of the scene to the climax. Chapter 189. There was once a star who said in a TV interview that his path to stardom was bumpy. He had experienced countless difficulties and twists and turns. He stumbled his way to where he was now and wanted to give up several times and live an ordinary life. But when he stood on the stage and heard thousands of people shouting his name, all the bitterness and pain disappeared. He felt that all his efforts had been rewarded and he persisted in his original intention. At this moment, Lu Chen understood this senior very well. Although there weren't many guests in the Forget Worries Bar at this moment, only 100 or 200, they weren't ordinary people. There were people in the same industry, singers from Hohai, and bar owners. When everyone was shouting his name and looking forward to him singing on the stage, it was a really good feeling. As if you were the master of the whole world. It was hard to refuse such hospitality. Lu Chen walked onto the stage and stood under the bright spotlight. The bar quickly calmed down. Lu Chen smiled a little embarrassedly. He said to the microphone, "Today is an important day for Brother Kenho to say goodbye to being single, so I'll give you a song as a gift." The applause that had just subsided sounded again. Everyone's eyes were focused on Lu Chen. Some were expectant, some were curious, and some were excited. Lu Chen borrowed a guitar from Qin Hanyang. He smiled and said, "Everyone here is a friend, so the name of this song is Friend." The next moment, Lu Chen gently plucked the strings and played the prelude. His eyes looked forward, and his dark eyes flashed. Then, a slightly low singing voice drifted into everyone's ears. "All these years, I've been alone, the wind has passed, the rain has passed, there have been tears, there have been mistakes, what do you still remember to hold on to? Only after true love will you understand, there will be loneliness, there will be looking back, there will be dreams, there will be you, in my heart. Friends walk together for a lifetime, those days will never happen again, a word for a lifetime of love, a glass of wine. Friends are never lonely, you will understand when I call you friend. There are still wounds and pain, there is still me. At some point, perhaps after Lu Qin played the first note, the originally noisy, lively, and joyful Forget Grass bar became very quiet. Behind the bar counter, the bartender, David, put down the shaker he had been shaking for a long time. In the crowd, the Snow Bunny girls stopped wandering around. On the upper floor of the bar, several specially invited VIPs poked their heads out of the railing to listen more clearly. More people crowded around the stage. They stared at Lu Qin and listened to the song with serious and thoughtful expressions. He was also slightly touched. Friend, what a precious word it is. The lyrics of this song were very simple, and the melody was not complicated. Lu Qin's playing and singing did not contain any elements of dazzling skills. Just like that, he played and sang, as if narrating a story of vicissitudes. It shook the hearts of everyone present, especially the musicians. Many of them lived a constantly moving life. Because of the special nature of their work, they often constantly rushed back and forth between different places. Sometimes they often did not even have time to unpack their luggage before they had to report to the next stop, living a wandering life. On the road of music, every time they set out, they never knew what the result would be. Between the collision and the search, they could only rely on themselves and their friends. They had no way to rely on a sense of stability that could last forever, and the only feeling that could give them peace of mind, apart from family and relatives, was only friends. It was not easy to drift in Beijing, and friends were rare. A sentence, a lifetime of love, a cup of wine. These 4 short sentences expressed the preciousness of friendship in the vagabond life. It was rare for them to have a drink together tonight, and tomorrow they would go their separate ways. Although it was only a sentence, it represented the vow of a lifetime. But how many such friends could there be in a lifetime? Friends were a kind of meeting. In the boundless world of mortals, in the vast sea of people, friends could meet each other, come together, get to know each other, understand each other, and get close to each other. It was really fate. In the journey of life where people come and go, meet and separate, in their different life trajectories, in the sea of hearts with different experiences, it could be said to be a kind of luck to be able to meet each other, reunite, and meet each other. Fate did not always come, and should be extremely cherished. Just like in Lu Qin's song. Friends are never lonely, you will understand when I call you friend, there is still pain, there is still me. Friends walk together for a lifetime, those days will never happen again, a word for a lifetime of love, a glass of wine. Chen Jinhao stood in the crowd, his eyes a little sour. Men did not easily shed tears, but only when they were sad. He was not sad. Because tomorrow was his wedding day. After going through ups and downs, he suddenly found that there had always been a person who was really worth cherishing silently waiting by his side, and he did not miss it. It was just that the memories of the past were evoked by Lu Qin's song. Chen Jinhao thought of those friends who had accompanied him all the way. Some of them lost their direction and lost contact on the journey, some gradually drifted away, and some even turned against each other. But there were also a few friends who persisted and became real close friends. The so-called close friends were not people who saw each other every day and drank together every day, but even if they hadn't seen each other for several years or even called each other, once they knew that the other party needed help, even if they were thousands of miles away, they would come over and do their best. How lucky he was to have several such friends. Recalling the past, Chen Jinhao was stunned. Until the applause around him woke him up. On the stage, Lu Qin returned the guitar to Qin Hanyang, and he leaned over to the Snow Rabbit girl and asked for a glass of beer. Straightening up again, Lu Qin raised his glass high and said, "This glass, we toast friends." To friends. Everyone raised their glasses in unison and responded to his call. Lu Qin raised his head and drank the glass of wine. He was a little drunk. But tonight's bachelor party was just the beginning, and there were more programs to come. Perhaps they were moved by Lu Chen's song, or they just wanted to get to know him. When Lu Chen got off the stage, guests came over one after another to toast him. Lu Chen drank one glass after another, and in the end, he didn't even know how much he had drunk. He even felt very strange. When did his alcohol tolerance become so good? He didn't get drunk even after drinking so much. Unfortunately, this was just an illusion. At the end of drinking, Lu Chen's consciousness was blurred. In a hazy state, he was helped to the backstage lounge. Lying in bed, drunk, countless memories emerged in Lu Chen's mind. All of them were memories from his dream world. Su Bo, Mo Ran, Fang Mingyi, life after life flashed past his eyes. It was so illusory, yet so real. Vaguely, he seemed to hear someone singing softly beside his ear. This time, shake and shake, this time, turn and turn. This time, shake and shake, this time, turn and turn, de chin, de chin. Lu Chen was woken up by someone shaking him hard. It made him dizzy. Trying to open his eyes, Lu Chen saw a familiar face, Peter Pan. He was still in a daze. Brother Fei, why are you here? Li Feiyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. De Chin, today is Boss Chen's wedding day, and you are the best man. Lu Chen suddenly woke up and instinctively turned over and sat up. Oh no. Today was October 1st, National Day, and also the wedding day of Qin Jinhao and Zhang Nana. Lu Chen was assigned the task of best man, to pick up the bride. He drank too much at the bachelor party last night and completely forgot about it. Li Feiyu quickly said, "It's not too late now, the motorcade is waiting by the road outside. You go wash up first, I will drive later." Lu Chen finally let out a long sigh of relief and quickly ran to prepare. There was a bathroom in the small suite backstage of Forget Grass Bar. Lu Chen simply took a shower to wash away the smell of alcohol and completely sober himself up. Li Feiyu brought his dress, and after taking a shower, he went out. He followed the motorcade directly to the hotel. Zhang Nana was not a native of Jing City, and she used to live in a rented house, so she rented a room in the hotel as her maiden home. Her parents rushed over from their hometown. Interestingly, when they arrived at the hotel to pick up the bride, Lu Chen found that Su Qingmei was among the bridesmaids. Director of Light Rain Media, Su Qingmei, Miss Su really seized the opportunity to torment the best men. Passing 3 tests, giving red packets, guessing riddles, fortunately, the bride, Sister Na, was very reasonable. She raised it high and put it down gently, so that Lu Chen and others did not disappoint. The official wedding ceremony was held at the famous 5-star Regent Hotel in Jing City. For the first time in his life, Qin Jinhao did not mistreat the bride who had been in love with him for many years. The whole wedding was very grand, and as many as 400 to 500 guests were invited. The bridesmaids received red packets until their hands were tired. Many friends from both inside and outside the circle came. The scene of the ceremony was very touching, and Sister Na even cried. It wasn't easy for the two to be together. Qin Jinhao originally didn't have any plans to get married, and Sister Na wasn't his ideal partner, but the latter's true feelings moved him, and in the end, they achieved this beautiful fate. It was also a good story in the circle. Although Sister Na's appearance was very ordinary, she has now become a well-known and powerful female singer through her cooperation with the Bionics. In terms of identity alone, it was enough to match Qin Jinhao. After attending Qin Jinhao and Zhang Nana's wedding, Lu Chen could not have a long National Day holiday. The next day, he took Li Feiyu to Jinling to shoot his first personal commercial. Note, friend, lyrics, Lu Siming/composer, Lu Jihong. Chapter 190. Jiangnan Beautiful Land, Jinling Emperor State. Jinling is the capital of Jiangsu Province, located in the eastern part of China, downstream of the Yangtze River, near the river and offshore, with a population of over 10 million. This city has a history of more than 6,000 years of civilization, nearly 2,600 years of city building and nearly 500 years of capital building. It is one of the 4 ancient capitals of China, known as the ancient capital of 6 dynasties, and capital of 10 dynasties. It is also an important birthplace of Chinese civilization. In history, it has blessed China several times. It has long been the political, economic and cultural center of southern China, with a deep cultural heritage and rich historical relics. Taking the G107 high-speed train from Beijing, Lu Chen and Li Feiyu arrived at this ancient and very modern city in only 3 hours. It was the first time for Lu Chen to come to Jinling to shoot his first commercial. Half a month ago, Silver Horse Advertising Company in Beijing and Lu Chen Studio reached a cooperation agreement, inviting Lu Chen to be the brand spokesperson of Senki Sportswear. The contract period is 1 year and the contract amount is 1 million yuan. Both sides are very satisfied with this contract. The endorsement fee originally proposed by Silver Horse Advertising Company was 800,000 yuan, but after Lu Xi's struggle, the contract amount was finally increased by 200,000 yuan. The contract mainly includes promotional posters, commercials, and so on. Senki is a new clothing brand on the market, focusing on the sports consumption market of young people. The reason why this brand, which is in the ascendant period, chose Lu Chen was mainly because Lu Chen was young enough and had a very healthy image. Especially recently, under the hype of Beijing television, his performance of I Love You China was exposed in advance, and he gained a high reputation both inside and outside the circle, and finally prompted the 2 sides to sign a contract successfully. For his first endorsement advertisement, Lu Chen also attached great importance to it. He rushed to Jinling just after National Day. The reason why this Senki commercial was shot in Jinling instead of Beijing was that Senki was a local brand in Jinling. Some of the posters that Lu Chen needed to shoot would be shot at the headquarters of Senki. Secondly, Jinling Film City was one of the top 3 film cities in the country. It was large in scale and had advanced facilities. It had Xiangjiang Road, Minggui Street, Ming and Qing Palace, along the river during the Qingming Festival, Buddhist Temple and Taoist Temple, and many other large-scale real-life buildings. In addition, Jinling had many historical sites, countless gardens, and a modern metropolis cluster. Therefore, many film companies and TV series production units in Beijing use Jinling as a fixed shooting base. Every year, countless celebrities entered and left Jinling. Moreover, there are many local film and television companies in Jinling. Silver Horse Advertising Company in Beijing has a branch in Jinling. It is very convenient to shoot commercials and can save a lot of costs. For example, the Senki commercial that Lu Chen is going to shoot involves urban scenes. If it is shot in the capital, the issue of approval alone can give people a headache. The capital is quite strict in this regard. In Jinling, this wasn't a problem at all. Not to mention the film studio city, even if they wanted to shoot in the city, the government had a green channel to encourage and support the film industry. Therefore, if everything went well, Lu Chen would be able to finish shooting the advertisement and posters in a day or 2. He could easily earn 1 million. When the high-speed train arrived at the station, Lu Chen and Li Feiyu got off the train. At the exit gate, the sharp-eyed Li Feiyu was the first to find a young man holding a reception card. The 2 big words, Lu Chen, were very conspicuous. Before leaving for Jinling, Lu Chen Studio had negotiated with Silver Horse Advertising Company. When Lu Chen arrived here, the other party's branch would arrange for accompanying personnel and accommodation. This young man in a blue t-shirt was undoubtedly the person sent by Silver Horse Advertising Company to greet him. Lu Chen passed the ticket gate and walked directly to the other party. He smiled and said, "Hello, I'm Lu Chen." The other party was stunned at first, but then he came to his senses. He hurriedly put down the sign and shook hands with Lu Chen. "Hello, Mr. Lu Chen, hello, This time, Lu Chen was wearing a pair of sunglasses, so Chuyi didn't immediately recognize him. Although there was no large amount of hype and publicity, Lu Chen was now a little famous. He was often recognized by fans when he went out and walked on the road. Wearing sunglasses was just to avoid a lot of unnecessary trouble. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Sorry to keep you waiting. Let's go." Probably because he didn't expect Lu Chen to be so polite, Chuyi was so excited that his face turned red. He was a little incoherent. "No, not long. The car arranged by the company is outside. I'm Lu Zhe from Silver Horse. Call me Xiao Lu." Lu Chen nodded and introduced Li Feiyu to him. "This is Li Feiyu, Li Gu, my assistant." Hello. Lu Zhe should be a newcomer who had just come out of society. He didn't have much work experience and wasn't good at interpersonal communication. In other words, Silver Horse Advertising Company sent him to greet and accompany Lu Chen, which was somewhat suspected of negligence. However, Lu Chen didn't care, or to be more precise, he didn't have the airs of a star. He wouldn't do such a thing as acting like a big shot. The car that picked up Lu Chen was just an ordinary Buick business car. The driver was a silent middle-aged man. After everyone got on the car, he drove all the way to a hotel near Jinling Film and Television City in Jiangning District. In terms of hotel accommodation, Silver Horse Advertising Company followed the provisions of the contract and arranged a 5-star hotel. Now was the National Day Golden Holiday. Even if it was booked in advance, it would be difficult to find a room around the Film and Television City, as a tourist hotspot in Jinling. Being able to arrange for Lu Chen to stay in a nearby 5-star hotel undoubtedly showed the power of Silver Horse. The only problem was that the room booked was an ordinary standard room, not a business suite. When stars go out to work, they usually discuss the treatment conditions with the reception party in advance, such as means of transportation, hotel standards, etc. The more famous the artist, the more detailed the requirements. There were often star artists who lost their temper and even went on strike because the reception standards of their partners did not meet their own requirements. As a result, they were published in the entertainment gossip news. Many artists regarded face as more important than life. Even if their status was not high enough, they would find ways to improve the treatment. Lu Zhe felt very sorry for this. "Mr. Lu Chen, the hotel room is too tight now. As early as 2 months ago, the business suites of the 5-star hotels here have been booked. If you think it's not appropriate, then, it doesn't matter." Lu Chen smiled faintly and interrupted his explanation. "The standard room is very good, thank you." Lu Zhe couldn't help but breathe a big sigh of relief. "It's my duty, my duty." What he was most afraid of was that Lu Chen would lose his temper. At that time, in order to appease the latter's anger, the company would definitely put the blame on him and let him take the blame. A few days ago, Lu Zhe received an artist who also came to shoot a promotional video. Because the car that picked him up was a Buick business car instead of a Mercedes-Benz, he actually turned hostile on the spot and wanted to leave, which made him anxious. Although the company urgently transferred a Mercedes-Benz over later, Lu Zhe was criticized internally on the grounds of inconsiderate reception. He had to come to work as usual during the National Day holiday to atone for his mistakes. At that time, Lu Zhe was so wrong that he really wanted to quit. But good jobs were too hard to find now. The treatment of Silver Horse was first class in the industry, so he could only endure it. Fortunately, this time, LVZ did not run into an unreasonable person. Originally, the company arranged for a Mercedes-Benz business car to pick up Lu Chen, but because another star temporarily changed the itinerary, the Mercedes-Benz was called over, and he could only continue to use a Buick. On the way here just now, Lu Zhe's heart was anxious and fearful. Lu Chen's tolerance and understanding really moved him. The assistant of Silver Horse Company asked politely, "Mr. Lu Chen, if you are not tired, I will accompany you to the Confucius Temple to taste the local specialties, and then play by the Qinhuai River." What do you think? Lu Qin nodded and said, a guest should follow the host's wishes. You can arrange it. He had known about the Qinhuai River for a long time. Since he was here, he naturally wanted to enjoy the legendary Qinhuai River. After settling down, Lu Qin and Lu Zhe followed Lu Zhe to the Confucius Temple. After a sumptuous dinner in the century-old savants building, the three of them went for a night tour of the Qinhuai River. During this period of time, Lu Qin had been working hard for his career. Today, he had a rare opportunity to relax. Therefore, he temporarily put his work and responsibilities aside. The scenery of the Qinhuai River was the most prosperous and lively in the area around the Confucius Temple. The street was bustling with people. There were restaurants and tea houses on both sides of the river. There were countless shops selling handicrafts and traditional snacks. The shop signs were flashing with neon lights, which set off the scenery on the river. Wui Lane, Zhuke Bridge, Wangxiatang Qianyan, the former relics had already become such a bustling tourist place. Countless tourists were walking through the streets and alleys of the Confucius Temple, or taking a cruise ship on the water. On the riverside where the willows drooped, many old people sat around a table, drinking tea and playing chess, enjoying themselves. At night in the Qinhuai River, the moon was warm and the stars were bright. The sound of oars on the river was bursting with lights. From time to time, the beautiful sound of flute with silk strings came from the richly ornamented cruise ship, making people feel as if they had traveled through ancient time and space. Lu Qin strolled between the corridors on the riverbank, smelling the fragrance of the vines and flowers wrapped around the wooden frame and listening to the gurgling sound of the Qinhuai River. He couldn't help but feel relaxed and happy. Looking from the railing on the Wendy Bridge, he saw big and small light boats shuttling back and forth. The pedestrians on the boats held cameras and mobile phones to take pictures everywhere, flashing frequently. Some people pointed the camera at Lu Qin standing on the bridge, laughing and recording his image. This scene reminded Lu Qin of a famous poet's poem, "You stand on the bridge to enjoy the scenery, and the people who enjoy the scenery look at you from upstairs. The bright moon decorates your window, and you decorate other people's dreams." Although he didn't drink to his heart's content, he felt drunk. Chapter 191. Leisure was leisure, and work was work. Lu Qin clearly distinguished the two. No matter how beautiful the scenery of Jinling was, and how moving the wind and moon of the Qinhuai River was, it couldn't make him forget to go home and neglect his work. On the second day in Jinling, Lu Qin got up early. Li Feiyu was still sleeping soundly. He quietly left the hotel and ran outside to exercise. After returning, Lu Qin woke up Li Feiyu, and the two went to the hotel restaurant for breakfast. After breakfast, Lu Zhe came just in time. Today was the day of shooting the commercial. According to the arrangement of Silver Horse, if the shooting could be completed smoothly in the morning, then he would go to Senki's headquarters in the afternoon to take promotional poster photos, and then he would be able to return to Beijing in the evening. Of course, this was the ideal situation. The shooting work of film and television has never been simple. Even the simplest commercial, it is difficult to guarantee that there will be any accidents and twists and turns, such as the wrong costumes and props, the poor state of the actors, etc., which will affect the shooting process. Under the leadership of Lu Zhe, Lu Qin first met with the shooting team of Silver Horse Advertising. Although it was only shooting a commercial, there were many members of the shooting team. The director, photographer, photography assistant, field clerk, art, lighting engineer, lighting assistant, prop master, makeup artist. Plus the field workers who were responsible for odd jobs, pushing the track, and transporting, there were more than a dozen of them. This also showed the strength of Silver Horse Advertising. If it was the kind of amateur team, maybe the director and a few photographers could handle it, and they wouldn't be able to arrange such a big lineup. In addition, it could also be seen that Senki attached great importance and investment to this commercial. The shooting location was Xiangjiang Road in Jinling Film and Television City. Jinling Film and Television City was built in cooperation between the government and enterprises. It has invested tens of billions of yuan, and has long become one of the famous tourist attractions in Jinling City. This Xiangjiang Road, which was built in imitation of Jiulong Commercial Street in Xiangjiang, was surrounded by high-rise shops, commuter trams and real subway stations. It was not much different from the real scene. Many domestic movies and TV shows were shot here. Interestingly, it was said that even Xiangjiang's film and television companies had shot films full of Hong Kong flavor on Xiangjiang Road. When Lu Chen arrived, the shooting team had just been in place. According to the plan, the outdoor part of the commercial would be shot first, and then the indoor part would be shot after that. The plot was not complicated. The plot of the commercial was about the male lead, played by Lu Chen, and the female lead, who overslept with him. The latter was in a hurry to attend an important meeting at the company and accidentally left a document at home. After the male protagonist found out, he immediately put on Senki sportswear and Senki sneakers and ran out to chase after her, only to find that the female protagonist had already left in a taxi. Therefore, the male protagonist ran all the way down the street, crossing many obstacles in the process. When the female protagonist arrived at the conference room and realized that she didn't bring any documents with her, the male protagonist, who was sweating profusely, descended from the heavens. The female lead was so touched that she gave him a kiss on the spot, causing everyone in the company to applaud. Finally, the camera focused on Senki's logo. Lu Chen had already read the script for the advertisement, so he had already memorized a few lines. The role he was playing didn't require a lot of acting skills. The only difficulty was that during the running process, in order to show the brand's sports characteristics, there were a few scenes that involved parkour. Silver Horse Advertising was going to use a stunt double, that is, a professional parkour enthusiast. Lu Chen came a little early. Under the introduction of Lu Zhe, he chatted with the director of the shooting team and listened to the latter explain the key points of the shooting. After all, the main shots of this commercial were all on Lu Chen. The director also introduced Lu Chen's stunt double. The stunt double was a professional fitness coach, surnamed Wang, who was nearly 30 years old. He was slightly shorter than Lu Chen, but the muscles all over his body were very strong. He was a little shy when he spoke. Obviously, he was the type with a straightforward personality. The director told Lu Chen that the fitness coach was a soldier and usually liked parkour. He once won the 5th place in the national parkour competition. After understanding the director's intentions, Lu Chen thought for a moment and asked, "Director, can you not use a stunt double? Let Coach Wang demonstrate those parkour moves to me first, and then I'll do it myself." "You don't need a stunt double." The director was shocked and looked at Lu Chen with incredible eyes. "Are you going to do it yourself?" The cameraman, lighting technician, makeup artist next to him, including Coach Wang, their expressions were a little strange. Professional things, of course, needed professional personnel to do it. Although it was more troublesome to use a stunt double, it required post-editing and modification to avoid being exposed, and big increased the difficulty of shooting. But it was better than Lu Chen taking risks. One of the scenes in the commercial required the male lead to flexibly climb over the railing and then jump over a 3-meter-wide flower bed. It was impossible to complete it without enough jumping ability. If he didn't know the skills, he might even get injured. The director felt that Lu Chen didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Of course, he concealed his disdain very well. The director of a commercial was not a film and TV director. The difference in status was too big, and star artists couldn't afford to offend him. So he could only explain in kind words, "That's too dangerous. We can't take such risks. Please understand." Lu Chen smiled and did not insist on his own idea. He chose to respect the director's arrangement. Well then, the director secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He had shot a lot of commercials and knew how difficult it was to deal with some star artists. Lu Chen was obviously not that kind of person, and he was very easy to talk to. After appeasing Lu Chen, the director raised his wrist and looked at his watch, frowning. He turned around, pointed to his watch and asked his assistant, "Look at what time it is now. Why hasn't Miss Sun Shan come yet? Call and urge her again. What are you doing here?" The assistant shrank his head after being scolded and quickly took out his mobile phone to contact. The director said to Lu Chen again, "Mr. Lu Chen, I'm really sorry. Please wait a little longer. Miss Sun Shan may have encountered something. Would you like to sit here first?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "It doesn't matter. I'll wait a little longer." Sun Shan was the female protagonist of Lu Chen's commercial, a third or fourth-tier film and television star. Lu Chen searched the other party's information on the internet and knew that the other party had appeared in several films and TV series. Although they were all supporting roles, she was quite popular on the internet. It was said that she was very good at hype and had won 1 or 2 unknown awards. Sun Shan was very beautiful, but her reputation was not very good. Of course, Lu Chen didn't care about the other party's character. Anyway, it was just cooperation in an advertisement. But he soon knew that he thought too simple. After the phone call, the assistant came over and said, "Director, Miss Sun Shan is still in the hotel. She said that she will arrive in about an hour. What do you think? Another hour?" The director was so angry that his eyes widened. So many people are waiting for her. He suppressed his temper and waved his hand hard and said, "Forget it, then don't wait. Let's shoot the male lead part first. Everyone, hurry up and get ready." As soon as the director gave the order, the shooting team immediately got busy. The cameraman set up the camera, the makeup artist rushed over to put on makeup for Lu Chen, and the lighting assistant ran around with the reflector in his arms. The field clerk led the field workers to isolate the curious tourists who gathered around to watch the fun, so as not to interfere with the shooting work. The first to start shooting was not Lu Chen, but his double. Coach Wang changed into a full set of sportswear and sneakers. After warming up, he began the first round of shooting, which was mainly an action of climbing over obstacles. This professional coach was very strong. He ran for a dozen steps and suddenly jumped up. He easily jumped over several boxes stacked on the side of the road. His movements were very vigorous and smooth. The camera installed on the guide track followed his footsteps and filmed the whole process completely. The first take went very smoothly. The director was very satisfied. After watching the replay, he passed it directly. The next second parkour scene was a lot more difficult. It required the double to climb over the railing and then jump over the flower bed and land on the grass. Because the distance of the jump was relatively long, there was a certain degree of danger. While the double was trying, Lu Chen received a phone call. A phone call that he didn't expect. Sister Fei. The person who called him was actually Qin Fei. "Lu Chen, where are you?" Lu Chen wondered, "I'm shooting a commercial in Jinling now." "Sister Fei, what can I do for you?" Qin Fei chuckled and said, "Can't I call you if I have nothing to do?" Lu Chen, Qin Fei said with a smile, "I'm not joking with you. Are you shooting in Jinling Film and Television City?" Lu Chen said, "Yes, I'm on Hong Kong Road now." Qin Fei said, "I've shot there before. I'm more familiar with the place than you. I'll hang up first." Lu Chen was stunned. "Oh, goodbye, Sister Fei." After ending the call with Qin Fei, Lu Chen felt a little inexplicable. "Ah." As he was thinking, suddenly there was a scream of pain in front of him. Lu Chen was taken aback and rushed over with several staff on the scene. Then he found out that his double, that is, Coach Wang, had an accident. It turned out that when shooting the scene of jumping over the flower bed, Coach Wang did not handle it well when he landed. As a result, he twisted his foot and couldn't stand up in pain. Everyone helped him up and moved a stool to sit down. When he took off his sneakers, Coach Wang's ankle had begun to swell. Although it was not known whether Bonehead was okay or not, it was definitely impossible to continue shooting with him like this. And the previous scenes were equivalent to shooting in vain. Because it was necessary to replace him. The problem was where to find a replacement now. It should be known that these movements were a bit difficult, and not just anyone could do it. The director's sadness was almost like a river. Chapter 192. Parkour is an extreme sport that is popular all over the world. It uses the environment of daily life as the sports venue and relies on one's own physical fitness to control any known and unknown environment quickly, effectively, and reliably. Parkour was first born in France and entered China around 2000. After more than 10 years of development, it has become one of the favorite sports for young people in China, and a national parkour competition has also been set up. The prize is very high. As an emerging fashion sports brand, Senki's market positioning is young people who like sports. Therefore, the elements of parkour have been integrated into this commercial in order to achieve the publicity effect of resonating with the target group. Silver Horse Advertising invited Lu Chen to endorse Senki, and used a professional stunt double for the parkour scene. It should be said that all aspects were well considered. No one expected that there would be a problem on the first day of shooting. In fact, for parkour, injuries are simply common, especially when there is no perfect equipment protection. It is easy to have problems. Although Coach Wang and Wang Hai are professionals, they are not immune to accidents. But for the director, it couldn't be worse. This commercial was rushed to finish shooting. Silver Horse Advertising and Senki have a contractual agreement. If it is not on the screen within the specified time, the company's credibility and interest will be greatly damaged. Otherwise, they would not have rushed to start shooting on the second day of National Day. Coach Wang's injury made the following shooting work very troublesome. Although it was not difficult to find professional parkour athletes in Jinling or the surrounding areas, it was not easy to ask for a height and body similar to Lu Chen. Parkour is more suitable for young people with small and flexible figures. Lu Chen is 180 plus tall. Wang Hai struggled to stand up. He drooped his head and his face was full of shame. "Director, I'm so sorry." He was a professional, but this mistake was very low level and purely careless. It was not the first time that Coach Wang had worked as a stunt double, but it was the first time that something went wrong as soon as the shooting started. It was not a big deal to sprain his ankle, but it was not good to delay the shooting of others. The director said with a wry smile, "Forget it, it's not your fault. Who can guarantee that nothing will happen? I'll ask my assistant to take you to the hospital. It's best to take an X-ray to see the bones. We will pay for the medical expenses." Reputation was very important in this industry. Unless you were a big shot, you would not be able to survive if you were mean and unkind. This was especially true for stunt doubles. They worked hard to earn money, so they had to take responsibility if there was a work-related injury. The director's surname was Zhong, and he had been in the industry for many years, so he knew how to do things. Wang Hai quickly waved his hand and said, "There's no need to go through so much trouble. I just hurt my muscles. I'll recover after applying some medicine and resting for 2 days. There's no need to go to the hospital and waste money." He was honest and straightforward. An assistant brought the ointment over and applied it for him. Director Zhong sighed helplessly and asked, "Do you know anyone who can come and help?" "Director," before Wang Hai could answer, Lu Chen, who had just come over, said, "Let me try." Director Zhong was speechless. "Mr. Lu Chen, if you are injured, it will be more troublesome. If there was a problem with the stunt double, they could always get another stunt double, but if there was a problem with the male lead, could they still get another stunt double?" This was too ridiculous. There was even an inexplicable fire of irritation in his heart, and he didn't want to explain more to Lu Qin. Lu Qin smiled faintly and said, "Director Zhong, I often exercise. I think I can still do simple parkour. Let's shoot the first scene of jumping over the box first, and if there's no problem, how about shooting the second one?" He added, "It's better than waiting like this." This sentence poked the director's Achilles heel. The scenes in the film and television city were not used for nothing. If they couldn't finish shooting today, they would have to continue shooting tomorrow. Not to mention the cost of time and energy, the rent had to be paid. Then let's try it. Director Zhong gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, you have to pay attention to safety. Don't try to be brave." The first scene was jumping over a cardboard box full of flowers. There was not much danger in that. Lu Qin said with a smile, "I know." Since the decision was made, Director Zhong no longer hesitated and immediately asked his staff to start preparing. "Camera ready, put the camera in place. Don't stand here and watch the fun. Separate the tourists here. Makeup artist, touch up Lu Chen's makeup." 10 minutes later, wearing Senki sportswear, Senki running shoes, and Senki sports bag, Lu Chen, who could be said to be fully armed, stood on the sidewalk and did a few warm-up movements. At the door of the flower shop more than 10 meters in front of him, there were 3 large corrugated cardboard boxes stacked with roses that were as delicate as fire, still with morning dew. On the left side of Lu Chen, the cameraman was controlling a high-definition digital camera and pointing the lens at him. The cameraman was ready to push the track at any time. "All units, attention. Street chase, first scene, first shot. Action." With the director's order, Lu Chen immediately stepped forward. Since experiencing that strange and long dream, he basically came out every morning to exercise, running plus practicing martial arts, regardless of rain or shine. Therefore, running has become one of Lu Chen's daily habits. When he took a step, his movements were very skillful and smooth, without the slightest stiffness and discomfort, and he rushed to the front of the cardboard box in a breath. The next moment, Lu Chen's left foot stepped heavily on the ground, and the extremely elastic sole gave back a heavy force. His right leg was lifted and stretched forward at the same time, and his whole body rose into the air, jumping over the flower box more than 1 meter high in an instant. Then landed steadily. In order to ensure the safety of Lu Chen, the director deliberately arranged to lower the height of the cardboard box. It turned out that there was obviously no need for this. Lu Chen's jumping ability was excellent, even better than Wang Hai. "Good." Director Zhong couldn't help but shout, very overjoyed. Just jumping over the cardboard box on the ground, there must be many people who can do it easily. But Lu Chen, from starting, running, boosting, jumping to landing, all his movements were done in one go, as smooth as flowing clouds in water, which gave people a pleasant feeling and seemed very unusual. As Lu Chen said, he often exercised, otherwise, it would be impossible to jump so beautifully. Most of the worries in Director Zhong's heart disappeared in an instant. There was applause around, and the members of the shooting team were cheering for Lu Chen's performance. There were very few stars who had such excellent athletic ability. Although it was simple running and jumping, it could also show the quality and ability of an individual in sports. However, things were not so simple. When Director Zhong looked back at the filmed picture, he couldn't help but show a wry smile. He found that he had made a mistake that was neither big nor small. The original arrangement was to let a stunt double jump, so the camera was always shooting from the side. Now that Lu Chen was doing it in person, the side shot was meaningless and even flawed. In addition, Lu Chen ran a little fast, and the camera did not keep up well, so the picture was not good. Director Zhong could only invite Lu Chen over and let him reshoot it after explaining the situation. Lu Chen nodded to show that there was no problem. Lu Chen's cooperative attitude made Director Zhong have a very good impression. There are not many artists like him who respect the director and take their work seriously. Many young people who are new to the circle are very impetuous and very self-righteous. When shooting commercials like director Zhong, he is often put on the spot by some star artists who like to play big shots. For the second reshoot, director Zhong arranged for the front and side double camera positions, and increased the number of people pushing the track to improve the speed. This round of shooting was completed smoothly, and Lu Chen's performance was still impeccable. But the action of the second scene was troublesome. Lu Chen needed to run quickly on the sidewalk, jump up on the steps, and then hold the railing with his hand. He used the force to climb over the flower bed that was almost 2 meters wide, and finally landed on the grass. The difficulty was not something that ordinary people could do. Just now, Wang Hai twisted his foot when he was doing this action. Director Zhong was very worried that the tragedy would repeat itself. After all, Lu Chen was not a professional parkour athlete, and he was not even an enthusiast. It was undoubtedly a great challenge for him to complete this action. He thought about it and said to Lu Chen, "Why don't we use post-production synthesis for this action?" Post-production was with the help of green screen technology. With the help of wire, any difficult and thrilling action could be completed. It was definitely troublesome, and the effect was definitely not realistic, but it was better than having an accident with Lu Chen. There was a special green screen studio in the film and television city. Of course, Lu Chen knew the meaning of post-production synthesis. He couldn't help but smile and said, "That's too troublesome, Director Zhong. Let me try it first. If it works, I'll shoot it directly. If I can't believe it, I'll think of another way." Director Zhong thought for a moment and agreed. It was mainly because of Lu Chen's previous performance that gave him a lot of confidence. Otherwise, he would definitely not agree. Although it was a practice, Director Zhong arranged all the shooting staff for the actual shooting. In the face of the approaching camera, Lu Chen was not nervous at all. He continued to run forward along the sidewalk. In the blink of an eye, he rushed to the steps leading to the small square, and suddenly jumped high. At this moment, everyone's heart was raised. They saw Lu Chen in the air, his right hand firmly pressed on the top of the railing, and with the strength of his arm, he flew forward over the flower bed more than 2 meters wide, like an eagle spreading its wings and gliding through the air, and then landed on the grass. The next moment, Lu Chen's body squatted down to unload the force due to inertia. He pressed the ground with his left hand to stabilize his body, and then jumped up again like a spring full of strength, and jumped into the square freely. Everyone was dumbfounded by what they saw. Wang Hai stood up in disbelief, completely ignoring the pain in his ankle. The series of movements that Lu Chen had just completed, not to mention ordinary people, even professional parkour athletes couldn't do better than him. Has he really never done parkour before? Wang Hai didn't believe it. Chapter 193. Lu Chen really hasn't played parkour. But the result of long-term efforts to persist in practicing martial arts has made his physique more and more excellent. Big increases in his running speed, physical flexibility, and nerve responsiveness. Movements that he couldn't do before can now be easily completed. There is no pressure to deal with the uncomplicated parkour movement. And from Mo Rant's memory, Lu Chen felt as if he had practiced thousands of times during the shooting process, and naturally achieved the effect that the advertisement needed to achieve. What the director just said and what Wang Hai had demonstrated formed a complete picture in Lu Chen's mind. He only needed to do it according to the requirements. This feeling was really wonderful. If he wanted to, he could. In the eyes of others, he was a god. There was a burst of applause around. Several foreigners in the crowd who were watching the fun gave Lu Chen a thumbs up and praised loudly, "Good." Parkour was originally a sport that spread from abroad to China. Relatively speaking, foreigners have seen more of it, but they were still impressed by Lu Chen's wonderful performance. Many people have raised their cameras to take pictures. Today was the second day of the National Day holiday. There were a lot of tourists in Jinling Film and Television City. Many people thought that Lu Qin was shooting a movie. There were at least hundreds of people inside and outside, which put a lot of pressure on the workers in charge of clearing the scene. Watching movies and TV series shooting was a tourist feature of the film and television city. If you were lucky, you could see the live performance of famous actors, and tourists also had the opportunity to be background or extras. Someone actually recognized Lu Qin and shouted his name. Well, it was a girl. Lu Qin smiled and waved at the other party and continued his shooting work. Director Zhong was really overjoyed by Lu Qin's extraordinary performance. He struck while the iron was hot and quickly finished shooting all the scenes of Lu Qin. What made the director very speechless was that, in addition to the sports scene, Lu Qin's acting skills in ordinary scenes were also remarkable. For example, when he chased downstairs to search for his girlfriend, the anxious expression on his face was very vivid and natural, without the slightest stiffness of a newcomer. Director Zhong knew that Lu Qin was a singer from a talent show. He really thought that he was a graduate of a film academy. Big also sped up the filming process. Most of the scenes were shot in one take. Commercials are different from movies or TV series. The requirements are not so high, but director Zhong feels that Lu Qin is fully qualified to shoot a real film. With his appearance and amazing acting skills, he is more than enough to be an idol. But director Zhong was not completely satisfied. This was because Lu Qin's scenes had been shot, but the female lead of the commercial had yet to arrive. Seeing that it was noon, Sun Shan was nowhere to be seen. Other scenes involving the male and female protagonists could not be filmed. Director Zhong's original joy quickly turned into annoyance. His original plan was to complete the shoot in one day. He was well prepared. For example, the members of the filming team were all present, and the filming location and extras were all in place. Unexpectedly, the heroine dropped the ball. She was supposed to arrive before 9 o'clock, but now it was already 11 o'clock. Director Zhong wanted to swear. He scolded the assistant. The assistant felt so wronged. He had called several times to urge the other side, but the other side kept saying that they would arrive soon. Could he be blamed for not coming? When Sun Shan arrived at the shooting site, it was already 12 o'clock, and she was 3 hours late. This third-tier star's extravagance was not small, at least 3 streets ahead of Lu Qin. She came in an extended white Lincoln, accompanied by a black Mercedes-Benz in front and behind. Before the people here got out of the car, an assistant rushed over to serve them attentively. It felt that her style was no less than that of a real heavenly queen, which could attract the attention of passers-by. There were tourists who thought that a big star had come and wanted to take photos, but they were blocked by Sun Shan's entourage. The young star was dressed very fashionably, and the skirts, shoes, bags and accessories on her body were all famous brands. It's just that Lu Qin found that her figure was far from as good as the photos on the internet showed. Director Zhong was relieved, and hurriedly asked Lu Qin to go together and introduce him first. "This is Mr. Lu Qin." Lu Qin smiled and said, "Hello, Miss Sun Shan." He didn't take the initiative to shake hands, because according to etiquette, on such an occasion, the lady should reach out first. However, Sun Shan had no intention of shaking hands with Lu Qin at all. She reached out and took off her sunglasses, frowned and said, "What's the matter? Why did you find me such a tall partner? How can we shoot this film?" Sun Shan's height was estimated to be less than 1.6 meters. Even if she wore high heels, she was much worse than Lu Qin. She looked up at Lu Qin, and her expression was very unhappy. Too tall. The corner of Lu Qin's mouth twitched, and he didn't know what to say. What kind of bullshit reason was this? Director Zhong was also stunned and explained, "It doesn't matter. We are shooting a commercial. You two don't need to stand together to compare, so it won't affect." He knew that some stars paid great attention to their own image. For example, short people would not easily take photos with tall people. Plump people would not look for slim ones, and slim people would be happy to look for plump ones. But now it was just a commercial, and there were very few scenes involving the two together. If they were concerned about the height and image, there were actually many ways to solve it. Sun Shan's difficulty was beyond director Zhong's expectation. No, I want to change my partner, or I won't shoot this film. As she said this, she looked at Lu Qin with arrogant eyes, as if she wanted Lu Qin to retreat in the face of difficulties. My partner, it's not enough to have a long face. His temperament must match me. Obviously, she was deliberately looking for trouble. Lu Qin keenly felt that there was something wrong with the attitude of the star. The two of them never knew each other. It was reasonable to say that there was no grudge between them, but things in the world were hard to say. Maybe Sun Shan had a reason to dislike him. Lu Qin didn't quarrel with the other party. That would be too low. He turned away quietly. Anyway, he wasn't the one who was really anxious. Of course, Lu Qin didn't just wash his hands and quit, he just didn't bother to pay attention to Sun Shan. Why bother? Director Zhong was anxious. He was very anxious. He wanted to argue with Sun Shan, but he was blocked by the latter's agent. The two sides were in a stalemate. Lu Qin asked the field worker to bring him a chair and sit down. He took out his mobile phone and began to browse the blog in no hurry. Lu Qin sat very steadily, because the endorsement contract had already been signed, and the advance payment had also been transferred to the studio's account. He neither violated the contract nor slacked off. What was there to worry about? After browsing for more than 10 minutes, Li Feiyu ran over and said something to him secretly. It turned out that this Sun Shan, who was said to have a relationship with a vice president of Senki, signed an endorsement contract with Senki early on. She once asked that the leading actor in the commercial should be designated by her. As a result, she didn't get what she wanted. Senki signed Lu Qin through Silver Horse Advertising Company. Li Feiyu's gossip was just revealed to him by director Zhong's assistant. Everyone was talking about it in private. Lu Qin understood. It turned out that this person had a background. He probably thought that he was in the way, so he took the opportunity to make trouble. It was undoubtedly very wise for him not to haggle with the other party just now. Otherwise, he might give the other party something to use against him. If he relied on the power of the background to make trouble, he wouldn't be able to clear his name. It's just shooting an advertisement. Is it so complicated? Looking at the director who was still negotiating, Lu Qin shook his head a little hopelessly. The entertainment industry was really too complicated. At this time, he suddenly saw a silver-gray BMW just parked on the side of the road. The car door opened, and a woman wearing a white dress and a pair of large sunglasses walked out. She looked around. Lu Qin was stunned. Although the other party's face was covered by sunglasses, he easily recognized the identity of the woman. Lu Qin immediately got up and walked over. The woman in the white dress also found Lu Qin, showed a sweet smile, and stepped towards him. Sun Shan noticed it. She curled her lips disdainfully and said to Director Zhong, "You don't have to say it anymore. Anyway, if this Lu Qin is the leading actor, I won't shoot it. If you think it's a waste of time, then find someone else. Isn't there another one here? I think she's quite suitable." A sarcastic smile appeared on her face, as if she was going to eat the other party. Director Zhong was about to die of anger by Sun Shan, and he couldn't help but look at the woman in the white dress. He knew Sun Shan's background very well and knew the reason why the other party was fearless. He had to bear the fire in his heart. Otherwise, if he lost Senki, a big customer, his job would be ruined. Director Zhong even knew that when Senki chose Lu Qin instead of the person recommended by Sun Shan to be the male spokesperson, it might involve the internal strife at the top of Senki Company. As a result, he was the one who was caught in the crossfire. If possible, Director Zhong really wanted to slap this arrogant Sun Shan away. He wasn't afraid that he couldn't find a replacement, even if it was the woman in the white dress who had just come to find Lu Qin. She was also more suitable than Sun Shan. At least the other party's height and body shape were very suitable for Lu Qin. Sun Shan didn't lower her voice when she spoke, so Lu Qin and the woman in the white dress heard it clearly. The woman in the white dress stopped and looked at Sun Shan with a smile. "Let me do it." "That's fine." Sun Shan chuckled and sneered loudly. "Let you do it? Who do you think you are?" The woman in the white dress had an excellent figure. She had a pair of long and straight legs, and her skin was like jade and lotus. Although her face was covered by sunglasses, it could be seen that she was a beautiful woman. Sun Shan would never admit that she was jealous, she was a star. The woman in the white dress reached out and took off her sunglasses. She smiled at Lu Qin and said, "Can't I really do it?" Lu Qin smiled bitterly. Seeing the true face of the woman in the white dress, Sun Shan's expression instantly froze, and she was as dumb as a wooden chicken. Not only her, but Director Zhong, his assistant and others next to her were also dumbfounded. It was as if all of them had been petrified. Chapter 194. Taking off the sunglasses, the true face of the woman in the white dress was revealed. Her appearance was very beautiful, and her every frown and smile was full of the unique charm of a mature woman, which made people's hearts palpitate. And there was no one present who didn't know this face. Chen Fei, the queen of sweet songs in the pop music world, a big star in the circle who has been famous for more than 10 years since her debut. For Sun Shan, Director Zhong, and others, this discovery was too exciting. Who would have thought that the person who came to visit Lu Qin was actually Chen Fei? Everyone was stunned at once. Especially Sun Shan, her mind was simply blank. She just sneered at Chen Fei. Although Chen Fei was a singer, she has also made movies and played guest roles in several blockbusters. The people who worked with her were all top figures in the circle, big directors or big stars. Whether it was popularity, reputation, or status in the circle, Chen Fei could be said to completely crush Sun Shan. The two were not on the same level at all. If Chen Fei was serious about it with Sun Shan, then the latter would have endless trouble, and her development in the circle would inevitably be met with many obstacles, unless Sun Shan had heaven-defying strength or a strong background to resist. Sun Shan knew very well that she didn't have either of these things. In front of Chen Fei, she had nothing to be proud of. The gap between the two was too big. And even if Chen Fei was magnanimous and didn't take her seriously, if others knew what she had done today, she would become the object of ridicule in the circle. "Chen. Sister Chen," Sun Shan stammered, "so, sorry." Her original arrogance had disappeared, and her face was red and pitiful like a little wife who had been bullied. Sun Shan wanted to find a crack to drill into, because such a scene was too embarrassing for her. But she couldn't turn around and leave, otherwise, she would offend Chen Fei to death. Chen Fei glanced at Sun Shan faintly and didn't say much. In fact, Sun Shan thought too much. Chen Fei has been in the business world for more than 10 years. What kind of people has he not seen? There were those who had a silver tongue, those who had a dagger in their belly, those who were thick-skinned, and those who were sanctimonious. She wouldn't take it too seriously just because of one or two offensive words from others. That would really be beneath her status. It might even give the other party a chance to create hype. Chen Fei doesn't have Sun Shan in his eyes, and he won't give her a chance. Director Zhong came to his senses and asked with a smile on his face, Miss Chen Fei, are you here to visit me? Seeing Sun shone like a frosted eggplant, the director's heart was so refreshed. Who asked you to pretend? You've become an idiot by pretending, haven't you? He couldn't express his inner feelings directly, so he could only express his admiration towards Chen Fei. Sister Fei, you are so powerful. There was also Lu Qin. Lu Qin was silent. Who knew that he had such a great ability to invite an empress to visit him? This made Director Zhong really look at Lu Qin with new eyes, and he wrote a big word, admire, in his heart. Chen Fei smiled and said, it's not a visit. I'm a friend of Lu Qin. I know that he is filming here, so I came to have a look. It didn't affect your work, did it? No, no. Director Zhong shook his head like a rattle. It's our honor that you can come. He has shot a lot of commercials, but the objects he has worked with are basically second and third tier star artists. A big shot like Chen Fei usually can't be touched at all. Today, Chen Fei came to his place to visit him, which was a lot of face. Lu Qin said with a smile, thank you, Sister Fei. He and Chen Fei's eyes met, and the latter's eyes contained a shallow smile, as if they could speak. Although Lu Qin had a lot of questions to ask her, it was obviously not appropriate at the moment. Chen Fei's eyes were also dissuading him. The Empress pursed her lips and said with a smile, you're welcome. I just came by, so I won't disturb you. At this moment, some of the onlookers recognized Chen Fei and immediately shouted her name. Chen Fei. Chen Fei, it's Chen Fei. It's really Chen Fei. I'm not mistaken, am I? Yes. It was normal to run into artists and stars in the film and television city, but it was really lucky to run into someone at the level of Chen Fei. Immediately, countless people gathered around and wanted to see her. Fortunately, the shooting team and Chen Fei's assistant were very experienced. They immediately protected her and separated her from the onlookers. Chen Fei winked at Lu Qin, turned around and returned to her car. If she didn't leave now, it would be difficult to leave. Lu Qin watched her car go away, and a strange feeling arose in his heart. When Chen Fei called him before, he had a vague premonition. He didn't expect his premonition to come true. Mr. Lu Qin. The voice from Director Zhong made Lu Qin take back his attention. The director asked cautiously, it's noon now. Let's go to lunch first and come back to shoot again. His attitude towards Lu Qin was at least twice as polite. Lu Qin smiled and said, you are the director, you make the decision. Director Zhong's heart was really comfortable. The appearance of Chen Fei did not change Lu Qin's respect for him. He said with a smile, everyone has worked hard this morning. I'll treat everyone to a good meal at noon. Let's continue in the afternoon. Director Zhong didn't even ask Sun Shan for her opinion. Because he knew very well that as long as Sun Shan still had a little bit of brain, she would not make trouble again. On the contrary, she needed to work hard to have a good relationship with Lu Qin. The relationship between Lu Qin and Chen Fei was obviously not ordinary. Sure enough, as Director Zhong expected, after lunch, they came back and started shooting again. Sun Shan was as obedient as a quail, very cooperative and obedient to the command, and completed all her scenes with Lu Qin. After the outdoor and indoor shots were shot, it was not dark yet. The shooting team of Silver Horse Advertising Company finished work and went home, and the next step was the task of post-production. After shooting today's advertisement, Lu Qin had to stay in Jinling for another night. Because he was going to shoot a promotional poster tomorrow, maybe he would continue to stay in Jinling tomorrow night. Of course, he didn't need to pay for the hotel accommodation. At the time of parting, Director Zhong shook hands with Lu Qin hard and said sincerely, Mr. Lu Qin, if there is a chance, I hope to work with you again next time. He wasn't just being polite, but he was truly moved by her words. Needless to say, Lu Chen's work attitude was very serious and sincere, and his acting skills were beyond expectations. As a singer, Lu Chen performed better than professional actress Sun Shan. In the scene at home, because of Sun Shan, there were 4 NGs, and Lu Chen only had 1. Lu Chen nodded and said, "I think there will be a chance." Director Zhong took out a business card like a magic trick and presented it with both hands. "This is my contact number. If you want to shoot commercials, MVs, promotional videos, please take care of me, thank you." Lu Chen smiled, took Director Zhong's business card, and asked Li Feiyu to give the other party his own business card. One more friend, one more way. Even if the other party is just an unknown little director, maybe he will find an opportunity to soar in the future. One can't be too snobbish, otherwise, it's easy to be embarrassed like Sun Shan. Speaking of Sun Shan came to find Lu Chen. She asked with a charming smile, "Lu Chen, I'm really sorry today. Let me treat you to dinner tonight to make amends, okay?" The third-tier star smiled with watery eyes, revealing a trace of temptation, which was quite seductive. But Lu Chen didn't like her at all. Sun Shan's face was estimated to have undergone plastic surgery. The muscles on her face were a little stiff when she smiled, and there was a lot of powder. He was glad that the kissing scene in the last part of the commercial was not a real shot, but a borrowed technique. Otherwise, it was estimated that he wouldn't have to eat at night. Lu Chen politely declined. "Miss Sun Shan is too polite. I've already made an appointment with a friend tonight, so I'm really sorry. Next time I have a chance, I'll invite you." He said it very politely, but his tone was unshakable. Sun Shan was a little embarrassed. In the past, she would have lost her temper on the spot. "I invite you because I think highly of you. Who do you think you are? You're just a little singer from a talent show." However, now she had to bear with her temper and reluctantly smiled and said, "Well then." In fact, Sun Shan's real intention of inviting Lu Chen was to use the latter to get along with Chen Feier. Even if it was just to meet and have a meal, it would be very good for her. Unfortunately, Lu Chen didn't fall into the trap at all, and let her charming eyes fall on the soles of her feet in vain. This woman. On the way back to the hotel, Li Feiyu said disdainfully, "She's simply..." Forgive his poor vocabulary, he couldn't think of the most appropriate adjective, and could only say, "Bah." Lu Chen smiled and said nothing. Chen Jinhao told him that the entertainment industry was the most complicated. When the forest was big, there were all kinds of birds, and there was no lack of exotic flowers. For such a person, it was the wisest choice to stay away from them. It would be troublesome to get involved with them. Beep. Beep. At this time, his cell phone suddenly rang twice. A short message came. Lu Chen took out his cell phone and looked at it, and then calmly replied to the message. He reached out and patted Li Feiyu on the shoulder and said, "Li Gu, I have something to do and will go out. You can take care of dinner by yourself." Li Feiyu smiled a little mysteriously. "Understood, did someone ask you out?" Lu Chen touched his nose with a wry smile and said, "Yes." He knew that he couldn't hide it from Peter Pan. Li Feiyu made a ha sound and said proudly, "I knew it." He had already guessed who asked Lu Chen out. That was really enviable. Li Feiyu was not a fool, and as Lu Chen's assistant, he knew more than Lu Shi. "Then have a good time. It's best if you don't come back at night." Lu Chen was speechless. He stopped a taxi on the side of the road and told the driver the destination. The address was from the text message he had just received. Chapter 195. Fan was an entertainment reporter. He had a lot of titles printed on his business card, and the most conspicuous one was the special reporter of daily entertainment broadcast. In fact, it was commonly known as paparazzi. Paparazzi was first born in Italy in the 1950s. It originated from the Italian photographer Pigno Paparazzo. Later, after it was introduced to Hong Kong, people in Hong Kong changed the name of paparazzi to puppy. First, the pronunciation was similar, and second, the tracking behavior of such reporters was similar to that of dogs. Paparazzi hyped up the news by prying into the privacy of celebrities. In the 1980s and 1990s, with the rapid development of the entertainment industry in Hong Kong, paparazzi working in newspapers, magazines, and TV stations formed groups, which made star artists miserable. There were no secrets in the privacy of their lives. After entering the new century, the domestic entertainment industry continued to grow. Many Hong Kong reporters went north to seek development opportunities, so the domestic paparazzi circle came into being, which made people in the circle change their expressions. In Beijing, there were hundreds of newspapers, magazines, websites, and radio stations. These media employed a large number of entertainment reporters, and Fan was one of them. He majored in journalism in college, but he had no connections after graduation and could not enter a formal news unit. He could only bend to the private media and became a veteran paparazzi entertainment reporter after a few years. Relying on his hard-working spirit and keen observation skills, Fan mingled quite comfortably in this industry. Although people in the entertainment industry talked about paparazzi, they either disdained them or gnashed their teeth. Fan was very clear that their existence was mutual with star artists. Paparazzi certainly relied on stars to make a living. If stars were not pursued by paparazzi, would they still be stars? There were always many artists who deliberately exposed their privacy to paparazzi to hype up, and even secretly paid for photos. Fan made a lot of money. But recently, his life had been very unpleasant. Fan's immediate boss didn't know whether she took the wrong medicine or her menopause came early. She always found trouble with Fan and made things difficult for him, which made him very annoyed. What's more, it was finally the National Day holiday. He thought he could sleep in for a few days, but the old woman actually asked him to go out to run the news, saying that others could have a holiday, but entertainment reporters had no rest days. Damn, are entertainment reporters not human? Paparazzi also have dignity. Fan left the capital in a rage and ran to Jinling. He had thought it through very clearly. He would just treat it as a vacation in Jinling so that he wouldn't have to wander around under the old woman's nose. As for catching news, he just needed to go to the film city and find a crew to take some photos. If he really couldn't muddle through, then Uncle Fan was ready to leave. If this place doesn't keep me, there will be a place for me. Comrade Fan arrived in Jinling on the 1st and played for a whole day. As a result, the newspaper office called to urge the manuscript. Fan verbally agreed, but in fact, he was indifferent. Today, he slept in and woke up at 10 o'clock in the morning. Then, he leisurely wandered to Jinling's studio. As an entertainment reporter, this was not the first time Fan had come to Jinling Film City. He was very familiar with this area, so it was actually very easy for him to deal with this errand. Near noon, Fan was a little tired from wandering around and was thinking of finding a nearby restaurant to fill his stomach. Suddenly, he heard someone shouting in front of him, "Chen Fei, Upon hearing this name, Fan suddenly quivered. It was as if a switch in his body had been pressed. His strength continuously poured out, and his spirit instantly focused. It was a professional conditioned reflex. Chen Fei, that was a big star. She also came to Jinling. Fan immediately looked in the direction of the sound and saw that there were a lot of people there. He couldn't see Chen Fei's figure at all, but the shouts from the crowd were enough to prove the fact. Fan didn't immediately run to grab the news, but looked around. He soon found a statue standing in a small square nearby, with a granite pedestal that was very high. So Fan immediately ran over, climbed up in 2 or 3 steps, and raised the camera condescendingly. For any paparazzi, a digital camera with a telephoto lens was more important than their wife. It was a weapon that they always carried with them. Fan Fan was no exception. Even if the camera with the lens was very heavy, he would feel empty and uncomfortable if he didn't bring the equipment. He often carried it during non-working hours. This habit also allowed him to grab several exclusive entertainment news. When he focused the camera, Fan Fan's intuition told him that he could grab big news today. The camera drifted left and right and quickly focused, from blurred to clear. Fan Fan accurately captured the figure of Chin Fei. Sure enough, it was the Queen of Sweet Song, and beside her, Fan Fan's eyes were very sharp, and his memory was quite good. In addition to completing his job, he often looked at the photos taken by other colleagues and published news. Therefore, even if many stars were in disguise, he could easily distinguish them and lock on to the target. It was precisely because of this ability that Fan Fan was not afraid of not being able to make a living. Fan Fan remembered the heroes list in the entertainment industry very well, and updated it from time to time. He recognized that the tall and handsome young man opposite Chin Fei was called Lu Qin, the winner of Singing China. And he remembered that Chin Fei was one of the judges, and he seemed to appreciate Lu Qin very much. Then the two of them appeared here. Of course, they weren't talking about love. There were cameras next to them. Shooting a movie. I didn't hear that Chin Fei was going to shoot a movie or TV series. Fan Fan, regardless of the consequences, first pressed the shutter and took more than a dozen photos in a row, capturing Lu Qin and Chin Fei and the camera at the same time. The location he chose was very good, and the people around him didn't form a barrier. It would have been better if there were no onlookers. Fan Fan could give the photos a wonderful title. For example, Chin Fei meets Lu Qin privately, and the two are affectionate with each other, staging a teacher-student relationship. It's sure to be a hit. Fan Fan regretted that Chin Fei seemed to have said a few words to Lu Qin and then left. There was nothing more to shoot. As for Sun Shan, who was standing next to them, Fan Fan directly ignored her. Who the hell is this? Reporter Fan Fan was a little unwilling. He thought about it and immediately jumped off the stone platform and ran all the way to the street. Fan Fan's luck was good. A taxi with a green light passed by and was stopped by him. Fan Fan couldn't wait to open the front passenger's door and sat down. He anxiously pointed to the silver-gray BMW in front of him and said, "Master, please help me keep up with this car." The taxi driver asked calmly, "Are you an entertainment reporter? Which newspaper are you from?" Fan Fan knew that this was a real veteran driver as soon as he heard it. He quickly said, "I'm from Beijing. I know the rules. I'll give you double the fare." Among the three major film and television cities in China, Jinling Film and Television City was the closest to Beijing. With good shooting conditions and the support of the local government, many film and television production companies in Beijing filmed here all the year round. With more movies, there would be more stars and artists, and paparazzi would naturally gather around. It was normal to stop taxis to chase stars and grab news. Local drivers had long been accustomed to it and called it taking dogs. "Old Wang, where are you? It's time to change shifts. I brought 2 dogs today." I'm at your house." Not only were they not surprised, but they even wanted to make more money and increase the price of the paparazzi. In order to grab news, entertainment reporters didn't care about this small amount of money. Anyway, it could be reimbursed. Seeing that Fan Fan was so understanding, the old driver said with a smile, "Then you sit well. Remember to fasten your seatbelt. I promise I won't lose you. Otherwise, I'll pay you 4 times the fare." Under the guidance of the old driver, Fan Fan followed Chin Fei's BMW and came to a 5-star luxury hotel in the city. He paid the fare and got out of the car. He didn't go into the hotel. Instead, he found a hidden place outside and squatted down, ready to fight for a long time. Waiting like this was likely to have no result and he would waste his time in vain. But if he squatted down, he would have a chance. If he didn't, he would have no chance at all. Fan Fan had worked in this industry for 7 years, and he had already deeply understood this truth. And it turned out that his insistence was correct. At 4:00 in the afternoon, Fan Fan saw Chin Fei coming out of the hotel. Although the Queen of Sweet Song had changed her clothes and put on a hat and sunglasses, her long black hair still exposed her. Fan Fan paid attention to the details of people, especially star artists. Some of them were very good at disguising themselves to avoid the paparazzi. Chin Fei was undoubtedly very alert. She even changed her car to a black Mercedes-Benz. Unfortunately, she was targeted by Fan Fan, so she was doomed to not be able to escape. Fan Fan stopped a taxi at the entrance of the hotel before she left and followed the Mercedes-Benz all the way. Finally, he followed the Wangjiang Tower, which was located on the Yangtze River. Wangjiang Tower was a century-old shop in Jinling. It was very famous in Jinling. Sitting in the building, one could see the magnificent view of the Yangtze River. Many tourists would come because of its reputation. Fan Fan watched Chin Fei enter Wangjiang Tower alone. He didn't follow her. Because Fan Fan knew very well that it was Golden Week at this time. It was impossible for there to be an empty seat in Wangjiang Tower. Chin Fei must have booked a seat in advance. If he wanted to find a place to secretly take pictures of Chin Fei inside, he would definitely be taken directly to the police station by the security guards. Therefore, Fan Fan simply ran to the river embankment in front of Wangjiang Tower and aimed his telephoto lens at the restaurant. He was betting that Chin Fei had booked a seat by the window. If he wanted to get something, this was the best position and opportunity. Fan Fan gambled right. His camera captured Chin Fei again. Sure enough, she was sitting by the window. The paparazzi began to wait patiently again. He didn't believe that Chin Fei didn't even bring an assistant with her just to eat alone in Wangjiang Tower. There must be something fishy about it. Thinking about it, Fan Fan couldn't help but get excited, and the secretion of adrenaline accelerated. Chapter 196. Wangjiang Restaurant was overlooking the river. For most Jinling people, being able to treat others to dinner in Wangjiang Restaurant was a very prestigious thing. This century-old restaurant had been operating for a long time, inheriting the tradition of Jiangnan cuisine, combining the characteristics of Hunan cuisine, Cantonese cuisine, and foreign cuisine, creating its own unique flavor, which was highly respected by countless gourmets. The most commendable thing was that there was only one Wangjiang restaurant in Jinling on the Yangtze River, and there was no other branch. The taste was the most authentic, so the business was naturally extremely hot, and the seats were booked several months later. In particular, the seats by the window, where one could enjoy the river view, could not be booked just by having money. The restaurant was only 3 stories tall, and it was built in an antique style, with richly ornamented beams and painted rafters, giving it a sense of antiquity. The most special thing was the 108 palace lanterns hanging under the eaves of the corridor. At night, they shone brightly, making the whole building look magnificent and amazing. When Lu Qin arrived at Wangjiang Restaurant, a bright moon had just risen above the vast Yangtze River. The green willow trees along the river gave him a faint feeling of the moon on the willow branches, people meeting after dusk. On the highest floor of Wangjiang Restaurant, which was the so-called upstairs floor, Lu Qin once again saw Chin Fei. The Queen of Sweet Song changed into a white long-sleeved t-shirt with floral patterns and dark blue denim pants, revealing 2 sections of her jade-like calves. Her sneakers and colored crystal glasses made her look very fashionable and young. Her long black hair hung down smoothly, most of it draped over her shoulders, and a small part stuck to her undulating chest, which had a kind of seductive charm. She tied a small ruby bow in her hair, which made her look even more charming. Sister Fei. Lu Chen appreciated it for a second, and then very naturally greeted her. Chen Fei, who was swiping her mobile phone, raised her head, took off her glasses, and showed a charming smile. You're here. Lu Chen nodded, I'm here. The two looked at each other and smiled, as if they had been friends for many years, and had a tacit understanding that there was no need to say much nonsense. Lu Chen sat down opposite her and asked curiously, Where's Sister Zhang? Chen Fei has said, just the two of us tonight. Lu Chen's heart skipped a beat. He smiled and asked, Is this considered a date? Chen Fei smiled sweetly and asked, Does it count as a date for an older sister to treat a younger brother to a meal? Lu Chen smiled bitterly. Chen Fei rolled her eyes at him coquettishly and handed him the menu. I ordered 2. You can order a few more. She added, The food here is very good. Then eat more. Lu Chen didn't stand on ceremony. He took the menu, looked through it, and picked a few dishes. His stomach was rumbling with hunger. Ever since he started practicing martial arts every day, Lu Chen's appetite had at least doubled. Usually, he needed a lot of nutrition to replenish his exhausted physical strength, not to mention today's tiring day. He felt like he could swallow an entire cow. Most importantly, Lu Chen's intuition told him that he didn't need to pretend to be polite in front of Chen Fei. After ordering the dishes, Lu Chen called the waiter of the restaurant and asked him to serve the dishes quickly. Chen Fei smiled and asked, Are you very hungry? Lu Chen nodded and asked, Sister Fei, why are you in Jinling? Chen Fei explained, I came to participate in a brand endorsement event, and then I saw on your blog that you were shooting a commercial in Jinling, so I wanted to treat you to a meal. Lu Chen asked, Then when are you going back? I have to attend the opening of the brand's flagship store tomorrow. If there are no accidents, I will return to Beijing the day after tomorrow, she said helplessly. I have to go to the radio station to do an interview later tonight. I can't turn down a favor. As an artist, especially a famous artist, time really didn't belong to them. For a big star like Chen Fei, her schedule was usually full, and she rarely had private time. Because of this, it was too common for couples in the entertainment industry to break up and get back together. Everyone was busy and didn't have much time to fall in love, so it was normal to have a weak relationship. Many artists simply didn't fall in love before the age of 40. Chen Fei turned 30 this year. Although she had a lot of scandals in the past, she didn't have a real boyfriend. The two chatted like friends, and the dishes were quickly served. Wangjiang restaurant really lived up to its reputation. The dishes looked, smelled, and tasted good, which made Lu Chen's mouth twitch. He didn't care about the beauty in front of him and picked up his chopsticks to eat. Before eating, he didn't forget to put food in Chen Fei's bowl first. His mother once told Lu Chen that if he ate alone with a girl, he must remember to put food in her bowl first, and then eat by himself. This was the demeanor that a man should have. Lu Chen always remembered his mother's teachings. When he was dating Wang Ying, it had become a habit to put food in the latter's bowl every time he ate. Lu Chen didn't think too much about it, but Chen Fei looked at the food he put in her bowl and was suddenly stunned. Except at home, no one would help her put food in her bowl. First, she was very famous, and others didn't dare to offend her. Second, she didn't like people doing this. Unless it was her family. Of course, Lu Chen was not Chen Fei's family, but when she saw Lu Chen put food in her bowl naturally, not only did Chen Fei not feel the slightest disgust, but she even felt a touch of shyness and joy, which was an emotion that even she couldn't explain. Chen Fei didn't know that she had a good impression of Lu Chen. Lu Chen was tall, handsome, and had outstanding talent. What was rare was that he was very assertive, tolerant, easygoing, and not arrogant. He gave people the feeling that he was the big boy next door, outstanding, but not unattainable. Unfortunately, the age gap between the two was a bit big. Lu Qin was 22 years old, and Qin Fei was 30 years old. There was a gap of 8 years. Qin Fei knew that age was not a problem. With her identity and status, she could fall in love with anyone. However, this barrier still prevented her from continuing to have a deep relationship with Lu Qin. However, yesterday, she accidentally saw Lu Chen's news on the blog and knew that both of them had come to Jinling. Therefore, she couldn't help but contact Lu Qin again. That was why she visited him today, and also dated him tonight. Qin Fei felt very relaxed when she was with Lu Qin. The latter didn't have the kind of fear and trepidation that young artists had in front of her, nor did he deliberately try to please her. It was natural, as if they were old friends for many years. She could see that Lu Qin was also interested in her, but he didn't take the initiative to pursue her. He was very rational. Of course, even if Lu Qin took the initiative to pursue her, Qin Fei wouldn't agree. However, at the same time, she also had some unconvinced thoughts in her heart, and she couldn't help but tease this big boy. "Thank you," Qin Fei said softly. Lu Qin was surprised. "You're welcome, Sister Fei. The food won't taste good when it's cold." "Are you a pig?" Qin Fei was really annoyed by him. She picked up the honey-roasted lamb chop in the bowl and took a big bite. It was as if she was biting Lu Chen's body. Lu Qin was a little inexplicable, but his attention was quickly attracted by the delicious food that was constantly being served. To be honest, at this moment, in Lu Chen's eyes, Qin Fei's charm was really not as good as these delicious food. Fortunately, Qin Fei didn't know this. She was a little depressed. At the same time, on the Yangtze River embankment 100 meters away, Fan, who was hiding in the bushes, was very excited. Although there were many mosquitoes here, and he probably got a lot of bruises from being bitten, reporter Fan didn't care at all. He concentrated on holding the SLR camera in his hand, aiming at Wangjiang Tower and taking pictures. Big news! The Queen of Sweet Song and the leader of the Jade Maiden sect actually secretly dated someone for dinner, and the person she was dating turned out to be Lu Qin, a newcomer in the circle, and it was in Jinling instead of the capital. Teacher-student love. Love between an older woman and a younger man. The Queen of Heaven was infatuated with a newcomer. A talented man and a beautiful woman, Qin Fei secretly meeting a folk song talent. If you want to pee, you can pee. If you want to explode, you can explode. Fan felt that his luck was too damn good. He came to Jinling and slacked off, but he was able to catch a big fish. This was definitely going to be the headline news of the entertainment section. Fan firmly believed in this, because neither Qin Fei nor Lu Qin brought an assistant with them. Generally speaking, artists in the entertainment industry often brought their own assistants when they had dinner with celebrity friends, especially ordinary male and female friends, so that people would not misunderstand that they were in a relationship or something. Even if they were photographed by paparazzi, they could have a big explanation. Gossip was a double-edged sword. Some artists liked to use gossip to hype up, but many stars were reluctant to get involved, fearing that they would lose fans and popularity, and attract the disgust of hardcore fans. In Fan's view, there must be something fishy between Qin Fei and Lu Qin. They were probably in a private relationship, and the relationship between the two was completely traceable. It did not suddenly appear out of thin air. Moreover, even if it was not true, what did it matter? The photos were irrefutable, and with the great reporter Fan's wonderful writing, there was a 99% chance that it would make the entertainment headlines tomorrow. Unless it was unfortunate to run into a big event like Wang Bin's arrest. The more Fan thought about it, the happier he became. While secretly taking photos, he roared in his heart, "Don't just focus on eating. Have some intimate scenes. You guys hold hands. Feed me. Kiss me. Can you please add some big stuff? Unfortunately, such an intimate scene never appeared. Lu Qin and Chen Feier left Wangjiang restaurant after dinner, and the two parted at the door. The scene that Fan Fan expected did not appear. Chen Feier quickly left in the Mercedes-Benz, while Lu Qin walked towards the river embankment alone. It was in the direction of Fan Fan. Fan Fan was shocked. He thought that Lu Qin had found him, so he quickly put away his camera and everything else. But Lu Qin did not expect that there would be paparazzi squatting here, and they would take photos of him and Chen Feier having dinner. He just went to the river for a walk to digest and enjoy the night view of the Yangtze River. So he did not notice the great reporter Fan who had quietly disappeared. Chapter 197. The noise coming from the living room made Chen Xiang wake up from his sleep. He opened his sleepy eyes, groped for his mobile phone on the bedside, and lit the screen to look at the time. October 3rd, 9:22 in the morning. It was almost time to get up. Chen Xiang sat up, stretched, and then lifted the thin quilt covering his body to get up. Rubbing his eyes, he opened the bedroom door and came to the living room, ready to wash in the bathroom. Shortly after joining Lu Qin's studio, Chen Xiang moved out of his original underground dwelling and moved to a talent apartment in the Blue Sky Creative Park area. The rent did not increase much, but the conditions were much better. This two-bedroom apartment belongs to the Creative Park and is only rented to people who work in the park. It was rented by Lu Qin's studio and assigned to Chen Xiang and one of his peers. The other party works for Mukin Crowdfunding Network Company, and is also a colleague. Chen Xiang was really satisfied. This small apartment was located on a high floor. The room was clean, sunny, and refreshing. There was no need to worry about rats or cockroaches crawling out from under the bed, and there was no need to hear the annoying noise that made a certain part of the body congested with blood at night. Moreover, it was very close to his workplace, so he didn't have to get up early every day to squeeze the bus and subway. He really had enough of that kind of hard life. Although Lu Qin's studio was small, it was full of vitality and vitality. The relationship between colleagues was very good. Everyone was like friends, and there was no intrigue or discord. If possible, Chen Xiang wanted to keep doing it. "Old Chen, you're up." His colleague was preparing breakfast in the living room. Soybean milk, steamed buns, fried dough sticks, and rice porridge were placed on the table, exuding a tempting fragrance. "Let's go together. I'll buy your share." Chen Xiang rubbed his hands and said, "Thank you, you eat first, I'll be right there." After hurriedly finishing his personal cleaning work in the bathroom, Chen Xiang sat at the table and couldn't wait to pick up a warm steamed bun and stuff it into his mouth. The aroma of meat gave him a great sense of satisfaction. "Old Chen, I'll show you big news." Chen Xiang had just swallowed a meat bun when his colleague stuffed a newspaper over. "I saw it on the way." "What big news?" Chen Xiang took the soybean milk with his left hand and took the colorful newspaper with his right hand. Daily entertainment broadcast. The gaudy style and the advertisements that could be seen everywhere clearly explained its identity and origin. Second- or third-rate private tabloids mainly focused on entertainment news. After entering the new century, with the development of the internet industry, the traditional newspaper industry had been severely impacted. The rise of new media was the trend of the times. The country gradually loosened its control over the newspaper industry and turned to full marketization. Many private tabloids appeared as a result, snatching the already shrinking market. Although privately run newspapers weren't very strong, their management methods were very flexible. They didn't seek to be comprehensive in the content of the newspaper, but they sought to take the route of uniqueness. Some of them were still doing very well. In Beijing, there were hundreds of tabloids like Daily Entertainment Broadcast. Noticing the puzzled expression on Chen Xiang's face, his colleague smiled mysteriously and pointed, "Turn it over and look at the front page." Chen Xiang turned the newspaper over and spread it on the table. Puff! He spat out all the soy milk in his mouth, and a lot of it sprayed on the tabloid. He saw that on the front page of Daily Entertainment Broadcast, a line of bold black and large font was very eye-catching. Queen of Sweet Song Qin Fei met Lu Qin privately in Jinling, acting intimately, suspected to be in love with a younger brother. My corium gold dog eyes. Chen Xiang felt that his eyes were blinded by this headline. Qin Fei and Lu Qin are in love. This is really big news. It can really make the headlines. Needless to say, Qin Fei, the whole country knows who she is, a real queen of heaven star. Lu Qin, that's Chen Xiang's real boss. Although they don't see each other every day, in his feeling, Lu Qin is not much different from ordinary people except that he is taller, more handsome, and more talented. He can't believe that he is actually with Qin Fei. But this third-rate tabloid is not talking nonsense, but has a full-page photo as evidence. This report was written by a reporter named Fan Fan. He used a long article to describe the process of catching the news with pictures and text. During the day yesterday, Qin Fei appeared on Xiangjiang Road in Jinling Film and Television City to visit Lu Qin, who was shooting a commercial, while Qin Fei himself attended a brand endorsement event in Jinling. That night, Qin Fei changed her clothes and left the hotel where she stayed. She went to Wangjiang restaurant to have a private dinner with Lu Qin, and neither of them was accompanied by an assistant. The front page of Daily Entertainment Broadcast was conclusive, so it was determined that Qin Fei was dating Lu Qin. Daily Entertainment Broadcast also listed Lu Qin's photo and profile on the second page. It has to be admitted that this kind of third-rate tabloid is extremely efficient in publishing. The photos that were secretly taken in Jinling last night made the headlines this morning. Things are going to get big. Chen Xiang came to his senses. Since there are photos, it may be true. He quickly took out his cell phone and dialed the number at the top of the address book. This must be known to Lu Xi. In fact, there is no need for Chen Xiang to call to inform. Lu Xi has already got the news. While Daily Entertainment published the headlines in the newspaper, its website and blog also released the news simultaneously. Then it was quickly reposted by the sensitive peers, and it has already set off a storm in the Waves blog. Qin Fei and Lu Qin. When everyone saw this news, their first reaction was similar to Chen Xiang's, that is, they didn't believe it. How is this possible? But the photos taken by Fan Fan are very clear. Although Qin Fei is dressed differently from usual, it is easy for people who are familiar with her to distinguish it. Needless to say, Lu Qin didn't even wear sunglasses. Although all the photos do not show any overly intimate actions between the two, the private meeting is a fact. In the past, Qin Fei has been rumored to have been involved in many scandals, and many photos have been taken by reporters. Later, it was proved that these scandals were either deliberately hyped up or groundless, and they were quickly quelled. Now the situation is obviously a little different. Lu Qin is the champion of Singing China, and Qin Fei is one of the judges. The latter's appreciation of the former is obvious to all, and the two have many interactions on the blog. Qin Fei even invited Lu Qin as a guest to her solo concert to be held next month. The relationship between the two is undoubtedly very good, and it is not surprising that they are in a relationship. Even if the age gap between the two is a little big. Qin Fei's fans were the first to explode. This is impossible. 55555 Qin Fei, my goddess is in love. Hype, it must be that Lu Qin is deliberately hyping it up, asking someone to take photos secretly. It's too despicable. Everyone calm down, don't make wild guesses, wait for the official news to come out. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. To say this weakly, in fact, I feel that Lu Chen is not bad, and he is worthy of our favor. The one who says it's not bad, can you please go to hell? Thank you. Many Fair fans were emotional. Some questioned the authenticity of the news, and some cursed at Lu Chen, as if the latter had tarnished the sanctity in their minds, and they wished they could cut him into pieces. Chen Fei has been in the limelight for more than 10 years, and her beautiful and pure image has long been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. She has a wide influence among the post-70s and post-80s crowd and is loved by countless people. For many fans who like Chen Fei, they hope that their idol will always be pure, and it's best to never fall in love. And for those who dare to destroy, it is absolutely irrational hatred. This is the helplessness of idol stars. Many artists dare not announce their relationships, and are secretive. In contrast, the reaction of Lu Chen's fans is completely different. Really? It should be true. He was photographed. I can only say that Brother Chin is too powerful. Hee, that's Chen Fei. My family's Lu Chen is so talented. It's normal for Chen Fei to like him. Everyone, let's give him our blessings. In fact, there have been signs for a long time. Just look at the Singing China competition. I'm sad. Why does the man I like always fall in love with someone else? You're a man, too. Nowadays, the news media spread very fast. As soon as the headline of Daily Entertainment Broadcast came out, there were dozens of websites that forwarded and published it, and it increased rapidly. In the blink of an eye, the topic was heated up. As for the Waves blog, needless to say, with the collision of the fans of both sides, the search for Chen Fei plus Lu Chen reached the top of the homepage hot search list in just a few hours, and the number of clicks, forwards and comments on the topic kept rising. Compared with the revelry of the media and fans, the people in the circle were much calmer. Most people kept silent and waited for follow-up news. There were also some artists who said some blessings or sour words, and stirred up their own popularity. When Lu Chen, who was far away in Jinling, got the news, it was already noon. His task today was to shoot Senki's promotional posters. Some of the photos needed to be taken in the headquarters of Senki Company, so he was very busy. There were a lot of photos to be taken, and there were 2 photographers accompanying him. His mobile phone was temporarily put in the hands of Li Feiyu. Although the latter knew about the scandal between Lu Chen and Chen Fei, he did not immediately tell Lu Chen, so as not to affect him. But after all, the fire couldn't be contained in the paper. After Lu Chen finished shooting, Li Feiyu opened the web page for him to see. Lu Chen simply didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He never dreamed that he was secretly photographed having dinner with Chen Fei last night. And made such a big headline gossip news. This made Lu Chen feel for the first time the power of the entertainment paparazzi. Chapter 198. Ha ha ha, from the high-quality receiver of the smartphone, there was a silver bell-like laughter, which touched Lu Chen's heartstrings. Such a big thing happened, and the news has made the entertainment headlines. Compared with his anxiety, the other party didn't care, but seemed to find it very interesting. Lu Chen helplessly said, "Sister Fei, do you think I should issue an explanation statement?" In just half a day, the gossip of his private meeting with Chen Fei spread throughout the entertainment industry and became the hottest topic on Waves blog. During the photo shoot, Li Feiyu received dozens of calls. Lu Chen had just refreshed his blog, and the comment area of his blog was simply boiling. On one side, his fans were sending their blessings, on the other side, Chen Fei's fans or other haters were spewing nonsense, stirring up a foul atmosphere. Among them, the most poisonous argument against Lu Chen was that he was deliberately hyping up and using Chen Fei to create a scandal to raise his value. The reporter who broke the news was hired by him. This kind of slanderous and defamatory argument was really not something that haters came up with out of thin air. There were really too many dirty things in the entertainment industry. There were countless incidents of small stars and small artists of blackmailing big shots to hype themselves up. Chin Fei had encountered similar situations before, and it was normal for her fans to be sensitive. After all, compared with the queen of sweet song, Lu Qin was now a complete newcomer in the circle. But Lu Qin was really wronged. As an independent artist, he has not done many announcements since his debut, and rarely takes the initiative to hype up and promote himself. Several times he stood on the cusp of the storm. It was out of the need to fight back. With the strength he has, if he wants to become a big shot, all he needs is the accumulation of time and network resources. In fact, as far as Lu Chen's current achievements are concerned, not many newcomers can match him. Why does he need to use such despicable means to attract attention? Therefore, after knowing the situation, he called Chin Fei, as soon as possible. He couldn't let the other party misunderstand that he was playing tricks. Chin Fei said with a smile, "Don't worry. I'll explain it. The studio will also make an announcement. Just focus on your work and bring some popularity." She knew that the news came much earlier than Lu Qin, but she did not immediately make an announcement until Lu Qin called. Chin Fei trusted Lu Qin. When he heard Lu Chen's exasperated explanation, he couldn't help but laugh. This was because Lu Qin clearly attached great importance to the relationship between the two of them. Otherwise, with his composure, he wouldn't be so anxious. Now that Sister Fei is satisfied, of course, she has to solve the problem. It's just a small matter for her. Lu Qin did not know whether to laugh or cry. His blog was being scolded to the skies, and the fans of both sides had already started fighting. Of course, Lu Qin was very happy that Chin Fei trusted him so much. The gloominess in his heart disappeared without a trace. In fact, at this time, Lu Qin did not realize the weight of Chin Fei in his heart, unknowingly. At 7:00 that evening, at the opening celebration and new product introduction banquet of an international brand flagship store in Jinling, Chin Fei, who had just walked the red carpet, was surrounded by a large number of media reporters. Their questions were like a storm attacking Chin Fei. "Miss Chin Fei, is it true that you and Lu Qin are in a relationship? Miss Chin Fei, is it true that you and Lu Qin are in a relationship? Miss Chin Fei, Miss Chin Fei." Tonight, Chin Fei was wearing a gorgeous evening dress. Facing the bombardment of media reporters, she calmly replied, "Last night, I invited Lu Qin to dinner at Wangjiang restaurant." Wow! It's actually true. Many reporters thought that Chin Fei would deny it. After all, she was wearing sunglasses in the photos. Unexpectedly, Chin Fei admitted it without hesitation. A reporter asked excitedly, "Are you in a relationship with Lu Qin?" Chin Fei smiled sweetly and said, "Lu Qin and I are very good friends, and I'm here to tell everyone a piece of good news. The 2 title songs of my new album have been confirmed. Both are written and composed by Lu Qin. If everything goes well, then the new album will be released next month. It will be my transformational work." Album? What the hell is an album? We're asking if it's a relationship. The reporters were stunned. They thought they could dig out big news from Chin Fei, but in the end, well, Lu Qin wrote the title song for Chin Fei's transformational work. It was also news. But the value of this news was really different from the value of the love between the two of them. In this way, the reason for the two of them to eat alone was very simple. It was not worth making a fuss at all. Another reporter asked unwillingly, "Miss Chin Fei, are you really not in a relationship with Lu Qin?" He had a look of disbelief and doubt. Entertainment reporters were like this. In order to get news, they would do anything. Such an impolite question was considered a child's play. If it weren't for Chen Feier's high status, she would have asked something even worse. Chen Feier was used to ups and downs. She wouldn't be provoked by the other party at all. She pursed her lips and said with a smile, "Lu Chen is a very talented and good boy. If I were 10 years younger, maybe I would really pursue him. Now, we can only be good friends." Chen Feier has a characteristic that she has never been afraid to talk about her real age. Unlike many female stars, who hide their age. When asked by others, they will use answers such as, "You guess," to keep it mysterious. And her answer now showed her magnanimity, and at the same time, it also raised Lu Chen to a very high level. If she were 10 years younger, this heavenly queen would be willing to pursue him. Which newcomer could get such praise? Really not. The reporters wanted to continue to ask, but unfortunately, Chen Feier didn't give them the chance. She turned around and entered the banquet. At 8:00 in the evening, Chen Feier's blog released a public statement. At 8:20, Lu Chen's blog also released a statement. The contents of the statements on both sides were similar. First, they explained the friendly relationship between the two, followed by the new album. And with the release of these two public statements, the storm of sibling love quickly subsided. Feier's fans were satisfied. Chen Feier was still the perfect goddess in their hearts. Although Lu Chen's fans were a little regretful, the news that Lu Chen wrote the title song for Chen Feier's new album still made everyone feel very excited and expectant, because this was the first cooperation between Lu Chen and a real big star. Moreover, Chen Feier's praise for Lu Chen also made them feel very comfortable. Look at what Chen Feier said. He wanted to pursue him even though he was 10 years younger. Our family's Lu Chen's strength was needless to say. The entertainment media didn't want to give up. They made up gossip news such as, Chen Feier said he wanted to pursue Lu Chen, in an attempt to gain attention, but unfortunately, it couldn't make any waves. The most important thing was that this incident was purely accidental. There was no big V pushing force to hype it up, so the thunder was loud but the rain was small. Moreover, there was too much news in the entertainment industry. It was unknown how many artists were rushing to the headlines, so naturally, it couldn't have a greater impact. In a few days, everyone would naturally forget about it, unless the two were captured in a really intimate scene. For Lu Chen, the most direct consequence of this scandal was that his Waves blog fans soared to 7.5 million plus, and the sales of his album, You Who Sat Next to Me, which was still being sold on QQ Music Online, actually recovered, and it was a foregone conclusion that it would eventually break through the platinum standard of 500,000. Of course, there were also advantages and disadvantages, that is, because of Chen Feier, the number of his anti-fans increased at the same time. As for Chen Feier, this incident had no impact on her, but it promoted her new album. At about 11:00 that night, Lu Chen and Li Feiyu returned to Beijing. When Lu Chen opened the door of the single apartment he rented in the entrepreneurial park, he found that the lights inside were on. The aroma of food wafted in the air, and the dining table in the small living room was filled with steaming delicious food. She poked her head out of the kitchen and said, "Are you very hungry? Eat quickly." Lu Chen was surprised. "Sister, why are you here?" When he got in the car and was about to arrive in Beijing, Lu Chen sent a message to Lu Shi, telling the other party about his itinerary. He didn't expect his sister to run to the apartment to make supper for him. Lu Shi said angrily, "Li Feiyu said that you didn't have enough for dinner and drank too much." Lu Chen smiled bitterly. In the evening, Senki Company held a banquet to entertain him, and several executives came to accompany him, which was very respectful. How could he eat heartily on such an occasion, so he drank a lot of wine and didn't eat half a grain of rice. His stomach was rumbling with hunger. Because he was already very tired when he arrived in Beijing, Lu Chen went home first. He didn't expect his sister to prepare food for him. No wonder Lu Shi's reply to him just now was to let him go home and rest. Lu Chen's heart was warm. Having family around to accompany and take care of him was really better than anything. All the hardships and tiredness were worth it. But he was obviously happy too early. He just sat down and ate a few mouthfuls. After his sister served the last dish, she sat down and began to interrogate him. Are you really with Qin Fei? She's quite a good person, and she's a big star. I'm afraid that others will say that you're climbing up. Age is also a problem. She's 8 years older than you. Tell me, what do you think? Lu Chen really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He quickly explained, Sister, there's really nothing between me and Qin Fei. We're just friends. Really nothing. Lu Shi sneered, do you dare say that you don't like her? She really doesn't have that kind of feelings for you. Lu Chen was speechless. He touched his conscience and said that he liked Qin Fei, but this kind of love didn't reach the level of admiration and pursuit. Qin Fei, seemed to be the same, or was it more of a friendship? Perhaps the most appropriate way to describe it would be, more than friends, but not lovers. Chapter 199. Lu Shi picked up a piece of braised pork and put it into Lu Chen's bowl, which was his favorite dish. She said softly, you can handle your own emotional affairs. I just want to remind you that your identity is different from before. You have to consider all aspects of influence when you get along with others, especially people in the entertainment industry. Lu Chen nodded silently. Since choosing this path, his life can be said to have changed dramatically. The life of an ordinary person has gradually left Lu Chen. Although he knew that this was the inevitable result, he was still a little depressed, the so-called happiness trouble. Lu Shi blinked and said, Mom called me just now and asked me if you really fell in love with Qin Fei. She said that she liked Qin Fei, very much. Saying that, his sister couldn't help laughing. Mom still wants you to carry on the family line of our Lu family as soon as possible. Lu Chen's face, at this moment, was a big, embarrassed character. Speaking of which, he was really the only man in the Lu family. Lu Chen said with a wry smile, let's not talk about this. I won't think about personal matters for the time being. My career is the most important. Lu Shi said with a smile, everyone is very concerned about you. Li Mushi mentioned to me that her sister-in-law has a younger sister who has just returned from abroad. She asked you to find an opportunity to meet and get to know each other. Just as a friend. Su Daiwan's younger sister? Lu Chen was stupefied. Li Mushi's big brother was Li Murong, and Li Murong's wife was Su Daiwan. Lu Chen once met Su Daiwan at Li Mubai's home and sent a song to the once famous female star on Taiwan. Later, he was busy with work and had no contact with her. Su Daiwan originally intended to make another album, but after that day, she never mentioned it again. It was reckoned that she was impulsive at that time and regained her rationality after calming down. After all, her current identity was different from the past. There was no point in stepping into the entertainment industry again, but it would be troublesome. Lu Chen said perfunctorily, we'll talk about it when we have the chance. Lu Shi glared at him and said, don't take it lightly. People are very serious. Li Mushi said that Mukin crowdfunding will hold a celebration dinner on the 8th. At that time, her sister-in-law's sister will come. You have to give her face, right? Mukin crowdfunding was a company jointly established by Lu Chen and Li Mubai. Although Lu Chen held 51% of the controlling stake, he basically didn't care about the affairs of the new company, so he asked Lu Shi to help take care of it. The same was true for Li Mubai. Mukin crowdfunding was basically monopolized by Li Mushi. As the first business of the new company, Lu Chen's You Who Sat Next to Me album crowdfunding project was launched on September 23. So far, it has raised more than $1 5 million, reaching 300% of the pre-funding goal. The first crowdfunding project was undoubtedly a great success, so Lee Mushy decided to hold a celebration party on the 8th, the day of the end of the project, inviting guests from all walks of life to come and take the opportunity to expand contacts and new customer business. Although Lu Chen wasn't in charge, on such an important occasion, as the legal representative of the company, he must be present. Socializing was necessary. He also had to go on a blind date with Su Daiwan's sister. Lu Chen felt that his head had grown a circle. He said with a wry smile, "Then let's meet." He thought about it in his heart. At worst, he would say it wasn't suitable after they met. Su Daiwan couldn't force him to be a matchmaker, could she? She was finally satisfied. "It's right that you remember." As a result, the next day, Lu Chen threw the matter to the back of his mind and began to busy himself with work. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, the National Day holiday was over. For Lu Chen's studio, a lot of important things happened during this 7-day holiday. The first major event was the scandal between Lu Chen and Chen Fei. At that time, it was quite an uproar. Although it quickly subsided under the timely refutation of the rumors by both sides, it still had a great impact on Lu Chen. At least now when he runs outside, sunglasses and a hat are standard. On the evening of October 4th, China Music Chart announced the rankings for the first week of October. In Lu Chen's "You Who Sat Next to Me" album, all 10 works were on the chart. Lu Chen's Outdoor Cinema / Popularity Index 2074, ranked 50th this week. Lu Chen's Beauty / Popularity Index 2756, ranked 42nd this week. Lu Chen's Cinderella / Popularity Index 3015, ranked 39th this week. Lu Chen's The Brother Who Slept on My Upper Bunk / Popularity Index 3566, ranked 33rd this week. Lu Chen's The Bright Times of Youth / Popularity Index 4223, ranked 22nd this week. Lu Chen's Love in the Wind / Popularity Index 4357, ranked 20th this week. Lu Chen's Song of Time / Popularity Index 5250, ranked 15th this week. Lu Chen's You Who Sat Next to Me / Popularity Index 5980, ranked 7th this week. Lu Chen's Those Flowers / Popularity Index 6682, ranked 3rd this week. Lu Chen's The Brightest Star in the Night Sky / Popularity Index 8790, ranked 1st this week. Although it had been expected, the fact that all the works of You Who Sat Next to Me album were on the original music charts still caused a lot of sensation in the industry, making many people really begin to realize the talent possessed by Lu Chen. Since the birth of the original music chart, there have only been 2 times when all the songs of the same album were on the chart, and both happened in the early stage when the data collection was not perfect and comprehensive. Nowadays, the scale of the domestic pop music industry is huge, and the new generation of singers and artists are emerging one after another. There are many albums and singles released every week. It is really too difficult to replicate such a miracle. The most important thing is that the strength of domestic original works is not as good as before. In order to squeeze the maximum benefits, entertainment and brokerage companies will not include multiple good songs in the same album. Most of the independent singers write their own songs, and their works are inevitably mixed, so they naturally don't want to be on the chart. Lu Chen's album is undoubtedly a subversion and can be called a real miracle. Not to mention that all 10 works are on the chart, among them, You Who Sat Next to Me, Those Flowers, and The Brightest Star in the Night Sky, are also in the top 10, and The Brightest Star in the Night Sky is the first time to reach the top of the chart. In an instant, Lu Chen's position in the pop music industry has risen. In fact, the emergence of this miracle is normal. The creative quality of You Who Sat Next to Me is really too high. The campus folk song style it has brought has become popular in society and schools. Countless young people and folk singers who like music have even regarded You Who Sat Next to Me as a classic, and videos of playing and singing cover songs can be seen everywhere on the internet. For a time, in the Waves blog and post-bar forums, a large number of music reviews and articles about the album You Who Sat Next to Me have appeared, all of which are full of praise. Some people think that it is fully qualified to be the best album of the year. Lu Chen's reputation has risen. The number of people calling the studio to inquire about the price has increased sharply. The price of 350,000 yuan per song has not scared some ambitious agencies and singer-artists. But even if they want to ask Lu Chen for a song now, they can't get it. Because at present, Lu Chen has Chen Fei, or his new album on hand, as well as an important invitation from the MSN Beautiful Girl group of Flying Stone Records, so if others want songs, then they have to wait in line first. Chen Fei has already given 2 songs, but the Queen of Sweet Song was so satisfied that she added another one, and the MSN Beautiful Girl group is scheduled to have 3 works. It's not that Lu Chen can't come up with songs. In fact, as long as he wants to, it's very easy to release dozens or even hundreds of works in one go, and it can be done in a day or 2. But Lu Chen is not that stupid. He doesn't have to be afraid of offending people at all. On the contrary, the more he is reluctant to sell, the more others value him. In the view of these entertainment agencies, those who can produce the title song of Chen Fei or his album are all top writers in the industry. Although Lu Chen has not made his debut for long, his talent undoubtedly far exceeds his own fame. If possible, they would like to recruit Lu Chen under their banner, but unfortunately, it is not realistic. The reputation of Lu Chen's studio has also rapidly become loud in the circle. On the original music chart, also released on October 4th, Lu Chen's I Love You China, which he sang at the National Day Party of Beijing Television, directly parachuted to 9th place, making his works on the chart reach 11 at the same time. This original music chart record was really established by Lu Chen. On October 7th, the project of You Who Sat Next to Me album on the online crowdfunding website was announced to be successful, with a total of 2 million plus funds raised, and the pre-sales of Lu Chen's CD record have also been pushed to 110,000 plus. Although the sales of CD records are far from comparable to the sales of online albums, such a result is enough to kill a large number of famous singers, and at the same time represents huge profits. Lu Shi estimates that the total sales of this album alone plus peripheral products can bring Lu Chen's studio 3 million to 5 million, not counting other incidental value added. It can be said to be a lot of money. On the evening of October 8th, Beijing Mukin Crowdfunding Network Company, Limited, jointly with Lu Chen Studio, held a grand celebration dinner at the 5-star Regent Hotel, and invited hundreds of guests from all walks of life. Among them were representatives of a number of venture capital funds. The business model of the online crowdfunding website, coupled with the copyright protection certificate that Mukin Crowdfunding has obtained, made these crocodiles in the financial industry smell the smell of profits, so they gathered around one after another. Of course, this was mainly due to the influence of the Li family. If it was Lu Chen himself, it was estimated that he would only invite a few friends in the circle to support him. How could he put on such a big scene? In addition, the background of the Li family also made these crocodiles dare not play any tricks. They could only rely on their own strength and conditions that were attractive enough to compete. The bait thrown by Li Mushi. As the legal representative of Mukin Crowdfunding and the core of Lu Chen Studio, Lu Chen was duty-bound to attend the dinner, wearing a well-ironed suit and socializing with many guests with a smiling face. But this was not what really gave him a headache. The real trouble was the girl brought by Su Daiwan, the object of Lu Chen's blind date. Chapter 200. Across the table, sitting opposite Lu Chen was a pure and lovely girl. She was no more than 19 years old at most, which was the best age for a young girl. She was as delicate and pitiful as a blooming cherry blossom. She was the most worthy of cherishing and retaining. Chen Qian, Su Daiwan's biological sister. She was also Lu Chen's blind date tonight. Chen Qian's appearance was at least 60 to 70% similar to Su Daiwan's. Her skin was snow white, her eyebrows were picturesque, her big dark eyes were watery as if they could speak, and her bangs were no different from the girls in the ivory tower. She was pulled by her sister to be introduced to Lu Qin. She looked very shy and kept her head down without speaking. Su Daiwan took Chen Qian's hand and said to Lu Qin with a smile, Little Qin, little Qian has just come back from abroad. She also studies music. You two must have a lot of common topics. Can you get to know each other and make friends? Since Su Daiwan said so, how could Lu Qin say no? He nodded quickly and said, Okay, sister-in-law, I will treat little Qian as my own sister. Lu Qin keenly noticed that when he finished this sentence, Chen Qian's body shrank significantly. He could also see that Su Daiwan really loved her sister. Su Daiwan smiled, got up and said, Then you guys talk. Let's talk about music. Little Qian, you have to learn from little Qin. Chen Qian said, softly. Su Daiwan took the initiative to leave, obviously to create an opportunity for the two to be alone. But as soon as she left, the atmosphere became a little awkward. After a moment of silence, Lu Qin touched his nose and asked, Chen Qian, what kind of music did you study abroad? Modern or classical? Instrumental? Chen Qian said softly, I studied modern music. She didn't seem to want to continue this topic. She raised her head and looked at Lu Qin quickly. She said, Brother Lu Qin, it's too stuffy here. Can you accompany me outside for a walk? Lu Qin was stunned for a moment, but he still agreed. In fact, he didn't really like this kind of occasion. Everyone was dressed up and standing in the hall, wearing hypocritical masks, socializing, and saying insincere words. However, many people still enjoyed it. Therefore, Lu Qin did not want to get involved in the business circle, nor did he have any intention to develop in the business circle. He knew that he did not have the talent for business. The crowdfunding website was purely to earn a sum of money to pay off his family's debts. When the time came, he would sell his shares and retire. Chen Qian was very sensible. Before she left, she deliberately talked to Su Daiwan about it. Su Daiwan didn't object, and she was very happy. She said to Lu Qin, Little Qin, take Xiao Qian out to play. She is not used to such occasions. Please send her home before 10 o'clock. Although Lu Qin was the legal representative of Mukin crowdfunding, Li Mushi was the real protagonist in the evening. Therefore, it didn't matter if he left now after the celebration ceremony was over. Su Daiwan trusted Lu Qin very much and was very relieved to leave her sister in his care. Lu Qin took the opportunity to say goodbye and left with Chen Qian. Before leaving, he said hello to Li Mubai, who was circling around a beautiful girl. Knowing that Lu Qin was going out with Chen Qian, third young masterly smiled rather lasciviously. He said meaningfully, Brother Qin, take care of yourself. Lu Qin speechlessly punched him. Lu Qin and Chen Qian took the high-speed elevator and went down to the underground parking lot of the Regent Hotel. Because of his identity as the chairman of Mukin crowdfunding, Lu Qin socialized with many people in the evening and drank a lot of wine. But in fact, what he drank was not real wine, but a concocted drink. This was a little secret in the business world. Otherwise, as the host, if he drank too much, it would make a fool of himself, and it would be impolite to talk to others with a mouth full of alcohol. Therefore, Lu Qin could drive his own car and didn't have to worry about drunk driving. After finding his Zhonghua X7, he had just unlocked it with the remote key when he heard Chen Qian say timidly, Brother Lu Qin, you drank wine. Let me drive. It's not good to be caught drunk driving. Lu Qin scratched his head a little. He couldn't say that he actually drank all the drinks, could he? Chen Qian was really pure. She didn't know much about the business world. It was probably because Su Daiwan protected her too well. She was a bit like a flower in a greenhouse. He didn't know why she was willing to send her abroad to study. She was wearing a lady's dress with broken flowers tonight. Her delicate and soft appearance really made people feel sorry for her. Lu Chen hesitated for a moment and asked, "Do you have a driver's license?" Chen Qian nodded and said, "I got a driver's license in the United States, and I will renew it when I return to China. Brother Lu Chen, you can rest assured that I drive very slowly and steadily." She blinked her big eyes. Her eyes were filled with anticipation, and she was eager to give it a try. She was a well-behaved girl who wanted to find a little excitement in life. Any man, especially a young man, really couldn't refuse such a request from her. "Isn't it just driving a car? It's no big deal." Of course, Lu Chen was a man, a normal young man. But he didn't impatiently hand over the car key as Chen Qian wished. Instead, he said with a faint smile, "Sister Chen Qian, I think I'd better drive it myself. My car can't stand the torment of the Little Witch of Milan Road." The Little Witch of Milan Road. Hearing these words, Chen Qian's expression suddenly changed. It was as if she was a wild cat whose tail had been stepped on. All of her fur stood up, and her ladylike demeanor was nowhere to be found. Her eyes were filled with a sharp light that made one's heart palpitate with danger. Lu Chen wasn't surprised, and he smiled lightly. Milan Road was a winding mountain road in the suburbs of Los Angeles. Because of the steep terrain, rich kids often raced on this mountain road, resulting in several deaths. The title of the Little Witch of Milan Road belonged to this good girl in front of him. Chen Qian asked coldly, "How did you know?" This matter, even her sister Su Daiwan didn't know, but Lu Chen, who they met for the first time, actually knew very clearly. Her disguise was completely exposed. How could Chen Qian not be embarrassed and annoyed? Lu Chen smiled and said, "I also know that you're very dissatisfied with your sister's arrangement, and you don't want to go on a blind date with me at all. You even hate me, so you want to drive your own car to torment me, so that I'll suffer a bit and give up, right?" If not for his prior understanding of Chen Qian, Lu Chen really would have fallen for it. Chen Qian's acting was very good. To be honest, he hadn't seen any flaws before. Until just now, she revealed her fox's tail. Chen Qian was speechless. She had indeed planned to drive Lu Chen's car and race like crazy. Even if she didn't scare Lu Chen to death, she would torment him to death. Chen Qian couldn't persuade Su Daiwan, so she wanted to vent her anger on Lu Chen. She dressed like this tonight to make her sister happy, and also to make Lu Chen less vigilant. Who would have thought that such a pure and lovely girl was the famous Little Witch of Milan Road in the sports car circle of Greater Los Angeles? Lu Chen put away his smile and said seriously, "Chen Qian, I actually don't want to pursue you, and I don't want to have a girlfriend at the moment. It's just that sister-in-law Daiwan wants to matchmake us, so I can't not give face. So we're not enemies. Now that we've made it clear, shall I take you home?" Chen Qian stared at Lu Chen, and the light in her eyes gradually softened. She pondered for a moment, then finally nodded and said, "Okay then." The Little Witch of Milan Road took the initiative to extend her hand to Lu Chen. "I'm really sorry for what just happened. I apologize to you." Lu Chen secretly breathed a sigh of relief and held Chen Qian's small hand. "You don't have to." What he never expected was that Chen Qian's 5 fingers suddenly grabbed his hand tightly. She suddenly raised his arm and pulled it back. At the same time, she turned her back to Lu Chen at lightning speed, putting his arm on her shoulder. Her left hand also grabbed Lu Chen's arm, and she bent down, wanting to throw him away. This was a very standard shoulder throw. People who hadn't trained for a long time would not be able to do it so skillfully and perfectly. Moreover, Chen Qian's attack came without any warning. It could be said to be unexpected. She had full confidence that she could throw this annoying guy in front of her until he was confused. However, Chen Qian caught Lu Chen off guard. She grabbed Lu Chen's arm and completed the attack of the shoulder throw, but there was a problem at the last step. Lu Chen was like a mountain, motionless, and she couldn't do anything to him no matter how hard she tried. This guy's strength is so great. Chen Qian was taken aback. But she didn't panic. Without hesitation, she raised her right foot and stepped heavily toward Lu Chen's foot. She was wearing a pair of crystal high heels, and the heels were very thin. However, Chen Qian's plan failed again, because at the moment she raised her foot, Lu Chen's other hand was on her waist, and he suddenly pushed her to the side. Ah! Chen Qian lost her balance in an instant, and her whole body turned around. She couldn't help but scream. Bang! The next moment, her buttocks had an intimate contact with the engine cover of Zhonghua X7. It was actually placed on the car by Lu Chen. After a while, Chen Qian finally woke up, and her pretty face suddenly turned red. Lu Chen retracted his hand and said with a smile, "Have you played enough? If you have, I'll send you home." Although there was a smile on his face, his eyes were full of impatience. Lu Chen didn't have a good impression of this unruly girl who didn't know what was good for her. If it weren't for Su Daiwan, he would really let Chen Qian taste what pain was. In the situation just now, if it weren't for Lu Chen's quick reaction, he would have suffered a lot. He didn't know where the other party learned such a sinister trick. Chen Qian glared at him with a stubborn look on her face, and she seemed very unconvinced. Lu Chen shook his head, took a step back, took out his mobile phone, and said, "Then I'll call your sister, don't you dare." Chen Qian screamed. Chapter 201. I don't dare. Lu Chen glanced at Chen Qian, unlocked the screen indifferently, and opened the address book to look for Su Daiwan's number. He has the private phone numbers of Li Murong and his wife, Li Mushi and Li Mubai. It's right to return this kind of surly and spoiled girl as soon as possible. Originally, Lu Chen didn't want to expose Chen Qian. Everyone could just play along and deal with it. However, Chen Qian tried to play with Lu Chen, so he didn't need to be polite anymore. What Lu Chen didn't expect was that as soon as he found Su Daiwan's number, Chen Qian suddenly burst into tears. Crying like a pear blossom in the rain. She cried and shouted, "You all bully me. My mother doesn't want me anymore. My father is a gambler. My sister," Chen Qian cried loudly, and her cries spread far in the enclosed space of the underground parking lot. And there were not only Lu Chen and Chen Qian in the parking lot of the Regent Hotel. Some people heard the noise and came over, and some people looked over. Lu Chen shook his head helplessly, put down his cell phone and said, "Forget it, don't cry." As a result, Chen Qian cried even louder, as if to demonstrate to him. Lu Chen was so angry that he laughed. He asked, "Tell me, what do you want?" Chen Qian cried for a moment, then suddenly jumped down from the front of the car, opened the door and sat down without saying a word. She sat in the passenger seat and said, "I want to go home." Lu Chen finally breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly got on the car and left. If he didn't go, he would be surrounded by people. Driving out of the underground parking lot and onto the road, Lu Chen asked, "Where do you live?" Chen Qian wiped her tears and said bitterly, "Why do you care where I live? Just drive anywhere." Lu Chen couldn't help but get angry. To be honest, he knew a lot of girls, but he had never seen such a fickle one. She felt like everyone owed her something. Ding-ling-ling. Lu Chen was about to retort when his phone rang. Because he was driving, Lu Chen directly pressed the Bluetooth button on the steering wheel to answer, "Hello." Su Daiwan's gentle voice came from the car stereo. "Lu Chen, is Xiao Qian by your side? Lu Chen looked at Chen Qian and said, sister-in-law, yes. Su Daiwan lowered her voice and said, Lu Chen, Xiao Qian is still young and not very sensible. Help sister-in-law take care of her. If she's naughty, don't bother with her, okay? Su Daiwan clearly knew that Chen Qian's behavior at night was a little abnormal, so she was worried. Lu Chen was silent for a moment, then said, okay, sister-in-law. Chen Qian, you have a good sister. Su Daiwan reminded Lu Chen of his mother, Fang Yun. Fang Yun used to worry about him. Lu Chen's heart softened a lot. After hanging up the phone, he kept driving forward in silence. Chen Qian didn't say anything either. It was just that after Lu Chen drove for almost half an hour, she finally couldn't help asking, where are you taking me? Don't you mean where you go? Lu Chen's lips curved and he said disdainfully, are you afraid? Chen Qian's eyes sparkled. Lu Chen said lightly, I'll take you to a place. After driving for a few more minutes, Lu Chen found an empty parking space on the side of the road, parked the car, and got out to swipe his card. Chen Qian followed him out. Her face was very unkind, and she seemed to be gnashing her teeth. She was not worried that Lu Chen would sell her. This was a bustling commercial area. It was very lively. Lu Chen glanced at her and then walked forward. Chen Qian gritted her teeth and followed. She wanted to see what tricks Lu Chen was playing. After walking along the sidewalk for about 100 meters, they came to the exit of an underground passage. Lu Chen took the lead to go down. Chen Qian followed him into the underground passage. This underground passage was very spacious, brightly lit, and people were coming and going. The walls on both sides were full of all kinds of light box advertisements. The light of the LED box lights was projected into the passage through the colorful spray, casting colorful lights and shadows. On the right side of the passageway against the wall, there were one or a few performers at regular intervals. Most of them were singers. Some were holding guitars and singing, and some were street bands. This was the famous Xidan Underground Passage, which connected the subway and the Xidan Underground Cultural Square. It was said that there were hundreds of long-term licensed singers. Unlike those street singers of varying levels, those who could establish a foothold in the Xidan Underground Passage had some strength. Whether it was singing or playing, their standards were remarkable. There was no lack of masters. However, the pedestrians were in a hurry, and few people stopped for these singers who were singing hard. Only a few singers who had wonderful performances were surrounded by people in twos and threes, holding their mobile phones to take pictures and videos. Lu Chen stopped at a corner. There was also someone performing here. It was a woman in her 30s, with an ordinary appearance, thin and dark skin. Like most singers, she was holding a guitar, with an open guitar case in front of her. There were a few coins and a few small notes scattered in it. Obviously, the evening's harvest was not good. The female singer was sitting on the ground, her legs unnaturally curled up, and there was a crutch next to her. When Lu Chen and Chen Qian came over, she was playing and singing a classic folk song called Pencil Box. Her fingering was very skillful and sophisticated. Her slightly hoarse voice was very beautiful. Her singing was no weaker than that of ordinary professional singers. In Beijing, with a population of 30 million, there were many talented but unknown people. There were countless singers who drifted in Beijing, and only a very small number of them could stand on the real stage. Lu Chen quietly listened to her play and sing, and then put a prepared bill into the piano case. The denomination of 50 yuan surprised the female singer a little. She looked up and said, "Thank you." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Sister Sun, long time no see. How have you been?" The female singer suddenly showed a surprised smile and said, "Xiao Lu." She instinctively wanted to stand up. However, this simple action was not easy for her to complete. Lu Chen immediately walked over, leaned over and gave her a hug. He said, "Don't get up. Sit down." Sister Sun held the guitar in one hand and patted Lu Chen on the shoulder with the other hand. She said with a smile, "You are getting more and more handsome now. I saw you in the newspaper, aha." Lu Chen helped her sit down again. Sister Sun looked curiously at Chen Qian, who was standing aside, and asked, "Is this your girlfriend?" Lu Chen shook his head and said, "She's my friend's sister." "How have you been recently?" Sister Sun said, "I've always been the same. I'm still doing well. Everyone takes good care of me," she said with emotion. "Someone mentioned you and said that you are now a big star." Lu Chen said with a wry smile, "What big star? I'm just a small artist. Not many people know me on the street." Lu Chen said this a little modestly, but just now along the way, no one really recognized him. Sister Sun said with a smile, "Even if I'm a small artist now, I will definitely become a big star in the future. I've sung several of the songs you wrote." "You are so talented." Lu Chen smiled. Sister Sun said, "I'm really happy that you can come to see me. You must be very busy, right? You don't have to come here specially." She looked at Chen Qian again and said, "You go. I'll go back later." Lu Chen nodded and said, "Then I'll go. Sister Sun, call me if you need anything. My number hasn't changed." After saying goodbye to Sister Sun, he took Chen Qian back the way they came. In the car, Chen Qian couldn't help asking, "You brought me here and let me see this person. What do you mean?" Lu Chen said lightly, "Sister Sun came to the capital 7 years ago. She brought her husband to the capital for treatment, but he died. She also owed a lot of debts, so she continued to work in the capital to make money. But not long after, she had a car accident. When she was crossing the zebra crossing, she was hit by a speeding car that ran the red light and broke her leg. As a result, the driver ran away after the accident. Because it was a fake car, he was never caught and there was no compensation. Sister Sun's leg was crippled, and she lost her original job. Later, she borrowed money from others to buy a guitar and a speaker. She taught herself to play and sing and performed here. Some of the money she earned was used to pay off her debts, and some was sent to her parents in her hometown to support her children. Chen Qian was stunned. She didn't expect Sister Sun's life to be so pitiful. Lu Chen stopped and said to her in a deep voice, "I brought you to see her to tell you, don't think that everyone owes you, that everyone is sorry for you, and that the whole world should revolve around you. Your greatest luck is to have a good sister. If you really want to compare, you can't even compare to one of Sister Sun's fingers." Chen Qian bit her lip so hard that her lips turned white. Her expression was still stubborn, and she stared at Lu Chen without showing any weakness. She asked, "Then why didn't you help her? You can make a lot of money now, right? A song can sell for hundreds of thousands, and you only gave her 50 yuan just now. Don't you feel embarrassed?" She obviously had a good understanding of Lu Chen. Lu Chen sneered and said, "I only gave her 50 yuan because Sister Sun doesn't need other people's sympathy and charity. She can support herself and her children. In the past, someone raised money for her, and she donated it to charity. You don't understand her pride and self-esteem at all, because you only know how to stretch out your hand to ask for money from her and squander it." Lu Chen's reprimand was like an incomparably sharp knife, which instantly pierced Chen Qian's psychological defense line. It was too hurtful. The most painful thing was that Lu Chen was right. She had squandered a lot of her sister's money. Chen Qian was speechless. She was ashamed and wanted to open the car door and escape. Click. Lu Chen's eyes and hands were sharp, and he instantly locked the car door. He said indifferently, "I promised your sister that I would send you home. Chen Qian pulled the door handle hard, but she couldn't open the car door. She buried her face in her hands and began to weep softly. It was clear that she was crying in a very sad voice. Lu Chen felt that this little witch of Milan Road could still be saved. But he had no interest in continuing to be a doctor. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.